Good evening. Welcome to the December 12th meeting of the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Board of Commissioners. I call to order the meeting at 6:30 p.m. I just want to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded. We have a full agenda tonight. We'll start with opening remarks. Pete, could you give an update on any storm related?
From the recent storm, we had no issues yesterday. We had a couple of limbs on. We had no outages. We had a good night. I think we had one single service. So we kept the guys till about 6:30 last night, but we didn't have any issues.
Okay, great. Commissioners' reports. I do not have any remarks. Do any of the commissioners have anything to report?
I just have one. The Environmental Sustainability Committee, after hearing about the CNI program, wanted to have WMGLD join them for their January meeting to talk about how they can partner together to do green business efforts. You know, maybe they can help WMGLD to reach certain customers and maybe there's partnership opportunities. So I believe there's conversations to see if
Kiana reached out. She actually just got back to me, I think, yesterday to give me the January date. She wasn't positive on the January date.
So that's in the works. And yeah, I can just we can keep you posted on what comes out of that if you're not able to listen in.
Okay, great.
On that same, actually, I had a member of the business development team, planning team, actually ask about that. So it's interesting that ESC, so maybe might want to reach out to them as well, put you in contact with them.
Yeah, I think one of the concern in hearing what you just said was that it's less about new business and more like where we're targeting the money right now is for existing.
That's what they're talking about.
Okay.
It's not for new customers, right?
Okay, so this is the work that Olivia Hayes is targeting large CNI customers.
That's what we're going to try to start if we can. But yeah, I mean, we're opening the program, the GO program's open up to everybody. But we definitely want to try to pursue the larger customers and encourage them, especially with the thinking of trying to reduce gas peak. So with that thought in mind.
Okay, great. So keep us posted on. And would this be an in-person meeting or virtual?
They have a hybrid right now that they're doing where you could be in person or virtual. I'm not sure how they plan to participate, but yeah, they have both options.
Okay, great. Any other updates?
Nope.
If not, okay, town council liaison, not present. Any public comments, members of the public?
Yes, I certainly have a comment I'd like to make.
Could you state your name and address, please?
My name is John Sophia, 6 Whittemore Terrace. It's up on Chestnut Street, basically, not too far from Tuttle Street. For the last couple of weeks, there's been gas line replacement, moving meters out of houses, that sort of thing. And construction is always a messy proposition, I understand. But today, the construction has been, there's something very strange here. What they've left is piles of stone covered with binder in the street. And if any of you are familiar with that, it's incredibly tacky. It gets on cars. It gets on people's feet. I mean, I've never seen something like this. It looks like black oatmeal, shiny black oatmeal. How do you leave? And I spoke with Jimmy Brown today, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna get to it Monday if weather permitting." But my God, you can't leave binder in the street just for people to walk through and drive through, it's ridiculous. I don't understand what, it wasn't packed, it wasn't sanded, it was nothing. It's just there. I put a piece of paper down and stepped on it, and it was black. You can touch it. And, one small drop, you can get it on everything. Does this seem like proper procedure, normal? I just like to understand that.
They usually try to limit the amount that they leave out there for backfilling at the end of each day. They might have lost a day or two because of the weather, but I'll talk to them tomorrow to see, make sure that they're gonna clean it up. Typically, they'll try to go to an area and leave a work pile at some location and work off of that pile.
No, you're not understanding this. This is in the middle of the street. It's just spread all over the place for cars and feet to get in. This isn't, this looks like some sort of a very intermediary state. But how you can leave open binder just laying out there?
So was it backfilling a partial trench?
No. It was dirt. It was dirt before that because they had taken up the pavement.
Right, so yeah, so it was temporary repair until they do the permanent paving then.
But dirt is better than binder. You can walk through dirt and it's not a problem. You walk through binder and you're going to track it everywhere. Do you understand the difference here? I don't have a problem with dirt. Dirt's okay. But you put binder there. This is the holiday season. I've got people coming for a Christmas party. Guess what? They're going to be tracking binder in my house. This is not good. Mr. Brown said that he would send, he didn't seem to be very sympathetic, but he said he would send somebody to look at it tomorrow. I mean, I'm either going to have to put plastic down on the street or sand it myself with Home Depot sand or something, because I mean, there's two giant patches of it here.
Okay,
I'll talk to Jimmy about it in the morning.
okay,
But the binder is typically used as a temporary repair until
I
they can do the
understand.
permanent.
I'm completely familiar with how binder is used and its purpose. But leaving it for 4 days for people to track, unsanded and everything, is pointless. Okay. Enough.
okay.
Thank you for
Thank you
listening.
for bringing this to our attention.
Like I said, I'll have to
Okay.
take a look at it tomorrow. see
Okay.
what we can do to clean it up.
Thank you.
Yeah, let us know, please, what
I
comes,
will. I'll send you some pictures.
and which street is it on? You're on Whittier, but which street is this binder in the middle of the street?
It's called Whittemore Terrace.
Whittemore. That's where it is?
That's where he lives.
That's where he lives.
WHITTEMORE.
Yeah,
It's just down the hill from the Prospect Chestnut intersection.
Okay,
3/8 of a mile from the train tracks going towards Stoneham on Chestnut.
that's a little dead end street, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I know what you want. Okay.
Yeah. I appreciate anything you could do on this.
okay. Please, send pictures
I will.
and, we'll look into this tomorrow and, we'll get back to us. And then,
Thank-
do you have,
Yeah, Jimmy has his number.
do you have your,
We're out there every day anyway. That's where the project, the grant project's going on.
okay. And we have your contact information, so,
Mhm.
Right.
okay, we will be in touch.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I'll send some pictures.
Okay,
Thank you,
Appreciate your listening to me. Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak? We do have one agenda item that is under new business, gas pricing and bill format discussion. But other than that, are there any other items that would like anyone would like to bring forward at this time? Gary,
Scatini.
Janetti? I'm sorry.
Scatini. It's close enough. It's fine.
Ah,
I actually live on the corner of Chestnut and Whitmore Terrace.
okay,
And I don't know if you guys are aware, but when the street was cut, it was, I guess your cutter broke or something, and an outside contractor came in to you know, score the street for you guys to dig it up. And I guess it was a concrete cutter. And the concrete cutter people failed to flush the sidewalk down after they cut, and it permanently stained my driveway. You guys were nice enough to come out and pressure wash it. His name was Paul, super nice guy. Came out to pressure wash it, and he even had a hard time getting off. But ever since this project started, I have pounds of sand in my driveway from Whitmore Terrace that I've never had before. And I don't mean stuff you can blow away. I mean, you have to go out there with a shovel and do something with it. So that's been an ongoing problem, for me since, well, it wasn't so bad when it didn't rain, but now that we're getting wet weather, it's just puddling in my driveway. I swept up a lot of it today, but you guys can see where it's just settling. It's washing over the curb, down the sidewalk into the driveway. So John's tracking, black popcorn at his house, and I'm tracking sand into mine.
okay.
Pete, so can you tell us what's the status and how long is this project gonna go on?
Well, this side's wrapping up within the next week or two on this side of Water Street. They're close to finishing up this side of Water Street. So the project for the grant included water and then up Crescent, side streets off of all of that, and then the second half is on the other side of water, so. But they're in the home stretch on this side of water.
What is your address?
81 Chestnut.
It will be wrapped up in the next week or two, but I'll make sure the crew goes out there tomorrow. It's a contractor doing that piece of the work, but like he said, Paul's been trying to monitor it, so I'll have our guys go out and make sure it's cleaned up completely, so.
I mean, but Paul, I did speak to him on the phone a couple of times. He's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And he came out himself to pressure wash him, I think 4 or 5 Fridays ago.
Mhm.
So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
Pete, can we make
That's
sure?
it. That's all I have, folks.
Okay, thank you.
Determine that the
Thank you for listening.
Thank
Have a
you
good
for
weekend.
bringing this to our attention.
My pleasure. Good night.
that the sand is just temporary and not coming from something that was.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
have a look at it.
what the source of that is.
Yeah,
Who's Paul?
Robertson.
Oh, okay,
Okay,
okay, great.
all right. Any other members of the public? If not, we'll move to the next part of our agenda, Secretary's report and approval of the November 6th,
Yep.
2024 minutes.
There any changes to the November 6th, 2024 minutes that are not already documented in the board book already?
So the one thing we did get, it was a big set of minutes, so there were a lot of comments. In some places, the comments kind of over, so I tried to do my best to incorporate everybody's comments and not conflict them, so. So it may not look exactly like what you gave me, but it might include something that somebody else gave me, so,
Yeah, it looked like you had a balancing act to do,
yeah.
yeah, I could tell.
I had a couple very minor typos that I found rereading it. I don't know if you want those right now.
Sure, you just give me,
So, on page 8. The last third paragraph. It just says the global LNG market is a big driver, and every year the USA increases its LNG imports out of the Gulf. And I think it means to say which are forecasted to double in 7 years.
Mhm.
Just add the word which.
I'm sorry. I don't mind. Which are at the golf?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then on page 10, uh, in the new business section, 1, the second paragraph, few sentences down, she suggested that meme could have better anticipated inclusion of the munis in these, I guess, draft regulations.
I had
Or-
that circle too. I didn't know what that meant either.
Or comments on these on the draft regulations.
Mhm.
And then the last one on page 12, under the fiscal 2025 expense budget. Second sentence, it's meant, I think, megawatt should be crossed out, fiscal year 25 cost per megawatt.
Yep.
So the first. Yeah, and that's it. I had, everything else looked great. The other,
Uh, yeah, just another couple of small things. Page 7. Under where it says OPEB funding status. Right in the middle, it says Kyle stated that overtime assets built up to meet the liability. And then I didn't understand what came, it said making investments income restricted to the plan. I didn't know what that meant. Investments income. I don't know if that's supposed to be possessive or if it's supposed to be singular investment.
Jack, that was when Kyle was talking about the investment income within the OPEB plan, that there was income that would cover expenditures.
Yeah, I should probably say investment income is restricted to the plan.
Okay, that would make more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, there should be a comma after liability.
Yeah,
And then making investment income restricted to the plan. It still doesn't make, it wouldn't make sense with the word is in there.
okay.
Um,
All right,
But
leave out make or,
Instead of making, you could say noting that investment income is restricted to the
yeah,
plan.
that's probably,
that would work. That would work for me, yeah. Without the S on investment, okay. Next page 8, under the edit that Sharon just gave us, which is with the word which, a couple sentences down. It says the Russia-Ukraine throughput agreement expires in December 2024. And then the next sentence isn't really a sentence. It says, which allows gas to flow through the pipelines. So let's just make it a small W and get rid of the period.
yeah, I thought I had edited that. I think we were just gonna drop that clause out.
Well, that would be fine with me too. Yeah, pick it up.
I
Yeah.
thought I had got that one. That's why I chopped it and then I probably forgot to edit it out.
Okay. Page 10. Right where Sharon was a minute ago talking about the comment on the draft regulations. Because it starts out, it says Commissioner Calais was contacted by a legislator. And then it says, she suggested that meme could have better anticipated. So I wanted to make sure that we say Commissioner Calais, not the legislator, instead of she.
mm-hmm. Okay, good catch.
And then a little bit below that, it talks about the Mass Caucus and not meme. Commissioner Calais stated that meme should have informed the commissioners. And then it says, he stated that he asked Bob, but I don't know who he is. I think that means Peter.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's see. All right, and then in the bottom paragraph, still on page 10, the second sentence says Commissioner Calais mentioned that statewide estimates and estimates. And I'm trying to figure out what that means. I think it says that she mentioned the statewide estimates. I'm wondering if that she referenced estimates, but estimates of what? I just thought that needed to be clarified.
Of goals by year. That's what it was.
So could we say Commissioner Calais referenced the statewide estimates of goals per year? Referenced and not mentioned?
That's fine with me.
For annual goals?
Yeah, you could just say statewide annual goals or, yeah.
Okay, I think that's all I had. Yep, that's all I had.
Sure.
Yeah, not really, but.
Little eyes. Okay.
Any others? You want to throw one out?
No, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
I'll abstain.
Oh, that's
I wasn't
right.
present.
You were present, right? Okay,
Want a motion to go out, take that thing out of order?
yeah, so
No, we're gonna stay in order. We're gonna go to,
should we just make the motion now or?
no, we're gonna do Tom first, then we'll
Yeah.
take the other thing out of order.
Okay,
So yeah, Tom's next up.
okay. So, Tom, you'll be providing the electric supply update.
I will.
And I know you have a plane to catch, so,
Okay.
I should be fine.
okay. We appreciate you coming to our meeting tonight.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry I'm not there in person. So if this is shared, I'm wondering if, am I able to?
Joe
move the
can
pages?
advance for you. He's got it loaded, so. You wanna go to the next slide, Joe?
Okay, so I'm just gonna let you know next slide.
Yeah.
Okay, well, again, I appreciate you guys allowing me to speak with you today. I should tell you that your poor general manager was subjected to listening to me this morning for close to an hour, and I've assured him, and he has confirmed that this should not take anywhere near an hour's time. And he was updating me on current basketball signs of when you need
We're
to
gonna keep it moving.
So when I see Pete doing this, I'm gonna get ready to move on. But thanks for having me. Today, my plan is to really skip some of the intros that you all know Emwick and get right to a quick market recap, and then talk to you specifically about Wakefield's power supply. And should there be time afterwards, I've got a bunch of different subjects, but my thought is that we're not going to have the opportunity to do that, which gives me a great excuse to come back and visit you guys another time. First things first, I thought we'd start with a quick recap of the summer we just experienced, and the Reader's Digest take on it is that we had a fairly mild winter, and that those mild temperatures led to fairly mild power prices. As you can see in number 6, the average liquidation prices, daily liquidation prices for June were $45, July and August, and the real big outlier, $60 for July, and the real outlier was in August when we saw on-peak power prices around $41. That's kind of just a quick recap of this past summer. There we go. I've also got a more longer term write-up on power prices and energy prices over the past 5 years. I think I'm better served, or I always like graphs a little bit better. So instead of this paragraph form, I tried to take that material and put it in a graph. I apologize, this thing's not moving when I'm asking it to move. Oh, there we go. And basically, here's a graph of power prices over the last 5 years, or 4 some odd years. And you can see from 2021, after COVID, power prices started to escalate all the way up to 2022. That was mainly due to Fed stimulus and the economic a robust economy that came about after that federal stimulus. We also had consumption that was growing with that economic stimulus. And we had events, geopolitical events, mainly in Ukraine, that were causing the fragile market to experience higher pricing. Since that time, since the winter of 2022, we've had a slow tick down, mainly brought about by increased production in the natural gas areas and slowing consumption and a better handle on some of those geopolitical risks that we were experiencing between 2020 and 2022. I only offer all this information as some kind of perspective for some of the things we're about to talk about.
So just so we understand, we have our supply, right? So this is our consumption that is not met by all of our supply resources that we own. This is what we buy on the market that we're talking about?
I should have clarified. I apologize. My intent was to start with just a macro view of what's been going on in the industry. And then I was going to get into specific consumption by Wakefield. Those graphs before were just a sense of what power prices in the region have been doing over the last 5 years. They're not specific to Wakefield.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Again, this next page gives you a sense of some historical pricing. Going back to 2019, those light blue numbers represent liquidated prices in the New England area up until October of 2024. And those, I don't even know what, I'm terrible with colors. Is that a soft yellow? Represent the forward curve as of a couple of nights ago. So if you were to be looking to buy power in this coming January or hedging your power, which is something we'll talk about in just a minute, the current price is somewhere around $113 per megawatt hour. But again, that was all just kind of material to give you a sense of what the industry has been doing or what prices have been doing. I'd like to now move into more specific information relevant to Wakefield. We have here Wakefield's 5-year load forecast for 2024, 2025, 26, 27, and 28. And you can see from this graph the consumption we expect Wakefield to be doing or consuming over the coming 5 years for each individual month. And we've just taken that data and kind of placed it in a graph for you. Pete specifically asked me to review some of the power sources. So to your question earlier, I'm now going to get into some of the sources of the power that Wakefield's getting through MWIC. And Pete specifically asked me to break that down by resource. So what I've got here, I've got a page for each of the sources of power that are relevant to Wakefield's consumption. And you can see in 2024, Wakefield is going to, when it's all said and done, going to have consumed about 40,000 megawatt hours of nuclear power from the Seabrook facility at a total of approximately 1.3 million, which equates to a price of $31 per megawatt hour. And with the other nuclear nuclear facility in the region, Wakefield will be consuming 22,000 megawatt hours from Millstone with a total cost of $942,000, which works out to $1 per megawatt hour price of $42. Please let me know. I've got a tendency to get going and talk quickly, and I wanted to stay within the time frame you guys are hoping. But if there's questions, please interrupt.
Tom, I had one quick question. Is there a planned outage happening at any of the nukes right now?
There was a planned outage in Seabrook in October, and there'll be a planned outage in Millstone this coming April.
Okay.
Yeah, typically the outages are September, October, or April, May, into the early June.
Yeah, the shoulder months. So I just noticed that our nuclear and the supply mix was kind of low for October, so that's why I was down to 21%.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Tom, can I ask another question? And I know this
course.
takes you back, but the 5-year load forecast, when I look at like 2028 compared to where we are in 24, what goes into it? Because it looks like a low number from a forecast growth perspective.
I'm sorry, I could not hear that.
It looks like it's a very low number, going from like 172,000 to 180, like only a difference of 8,000 kilowatts.
we had a mild winter and we had a mild summer. I think that would be part of the reason that number might be lower than you would first think.
From a forecast load growth, I mean, growth perspective, like, are we making sure we're baking in everything that we're trying to do, whether it's people buying electric vehicles or converting to heat pumps?
I apologize so much. I can barely hear you.
Okay. No, my question is like, does the forecasted growth load forecast in here in the 5 year, does that account for all the beneficial electrification that would happen up to 2028?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So does it include specific distributed energy resources? Obviously, solar, storage, EVs, heat pumps as well?
Yes. I've got Jeff Burgoyne, the lead analyst, on the phone as well. And Jeff, I don't know if you want to speak to that point. You're on mute right now.
So Sharon, in terms of resources of the solar, but the others are loads, right? Are you talking about trying to get them signed up as demand management programs just for peaks? Because you mentioned heat pumps and EV, like, so EVs and heat pumps with loads and solar is a resource. So, are you looking at those?
They both can influence the forecast.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But I mean, over a 5 year, it's a 4%, 4.6% growth.
yeah.
Total or per year?
Total.
Total, so they're
Total.
less than 1% per year.
We're seeing that on a yearly basis in some areas.
I mean, well, we could definitely, Jeff can explain what we included and we can obviously continue to update those.
Jeff, did you have anything you want to say on that front?
Yeah, to provide a little bit of color, can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, great. The load growth numbers are consistent with what ISO is forecasting for the Massachusetts region in terms of load growth for all the reasons that you just said in the winter months for heat pump and electric vehicle usage. This is pretty consistent. It's been around 2%, but it varies by month. But we've gone down to the granularity of having an increase on a monthly basis. But this is consistent with what ISO has been publishing in their yearly SELT report. If you wanted to go back to where we got that information from, that's where we got those load growth figures from.
We okay to keep going or?
Yep.
Can I ask a question on slide 5?
Sure. Slide 5.
Which is.
Yep.
Oh,
Can you tell me the units? Is this,
dollars per megawatt hour.
does it say somewhere?
I think it was up above,
Is it?
a couple of slides above.
Okay. Can you tell me why the winter months are increasing so much more than the summer months between 2024 and 2025? It just looks like the jump is so much bigger in like January and February. And even March looks pretty big.
So the 2024s are actually, those are actuals, because there's the blue shading and the yellow shading up there. So those are actuals, and Tom kind of commented that, we had a mild-ish winter. So those are the actual numbers. The projected numbers are based on like, I guess, gas futures and whatnot, is that? Yeah. Did we lose?
Tom gone?
Huh.
Sounds like, Jeff, can you take over a little bit on that?
Yeah, so those blue prices are liquidated, basically LNP pricing. And the green ones are like the forward going rate. Why it's higher is because you're pricing in the risk of a counterparty taking on where that price is actually going to liquidate.
So these are the forecasted prices right now versus where it's settled in 23 and 24.
Correct.
And it settled abnormally low, probably because of the mild winter.
Right. Sorry, I lost you there.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're saying, just to be clear, that gas prices are a huge driver here because we have a lot of gas. And that's why we see fluctuations in winter months that are more significant than in summer months.
No, it's not because we have a lot of gas, it's because we need a lot of gas and the costs are actually higher.
Right. Well, there's a lot of gas generation.
There's a lot of gas.
Percent of
Right,
your
but yeah,
electricity.
right.
Yeah,
And gas is constrained in the regions, therefore it's more expensive.
Marginal fuel.
got it.
The region is dependent upon baseload gas, and when that baseload gas price goes up, you'll see it significantly reflected in power prices.
Okay.
All right, jumping ahead to,
We were at up to wind, I think, yeah.
okay, so hydro is similar, breakout of pricing. Jump to wind. Hancock Wind produced close to 6,000 megawatt hours for a total cost of 342,000. Berkshire Wind produced 4,565 megawatt hours for 2024. I'd be remiss in not bringing to your attention that the price per megawatt hour is $334. That's partly or mainly because we've had some recent capacity issues. These were expected capacity issues that let me rephrase that. We've had replacement part issues that we were expecting. What we weren't expecting was the lag that's been brought on by some of the supply chain issues that have extended things, but we've seen great improvement on that front of late. And for that reason, you'll see that price on the small volume up at that higher price.
For reference, can you give us a sense of what that was in 2023 and maybe 2022, just like how far up?
160, 170, I think is probably about right. Jeff, is that about right?
Yeah, 2022 was around 176, and I think when we started having those lagging issues in 2023, the number was around like $240.
Wow.
So just keeping that in mind, when we get to the discussion of offshore wind, those numbers are gonna look more like what we're gonna be seeing than the other stuff, basically. You know, the offshore wind is gonna be expensive. So when we get ready to have that conversation, we're gonna have to factor in how much, you know, we want a piece of it, but how much do we want? Because it will impact rates.
All right. Moving on to solar. 2020A produced 2,000 megawatt hours at a total cost of about $157,000, which breaks into a total dollar per megawatt hour of $77. And then finally, I also want to include fossil fuel, but I wanted to report it to you guys in terms of capacity. We have Stony Brook that provided capacity to Wakefield for to the tune of 923,000. In Project 2015A, a capacity of 259,000. I'm pretty excited to report that 2015A started up in the early fall this year and has been providing much needed capacity to the New England system. So that's really great news for it's units like that from a baseload standpoint that really add support in this region from a capacity standpoint.
Those are costs, but from a capacity perspective, what were the megawatts of each one of those two?
I'm sorry?
You're showing the cost associated with Stony Brook and Project 2015A? But
Yeah,
what is the megawatts that each one of them, or megawatt hours that each one of them? You can't measure capacity in dollars. That's what I'm trying to get into.
Jeff, I don't know. I don't have that in front of me. Do you have that?
Are you looking for actual generation, or are you looking for the amount of capacity in terms of its size?
Amount of capacity in megawatt hours, like in comparison to the other sources, like how does that compare?
you can't make an apples to apple comparison because the other one is energy, and this is capacity.
So this was the value of the capacity for Wakefield, right? Is that what
Yep.
you're saying?
Correct.
So is this a payment to us or is this what we pay for capacity?
This is substituting payments you'd have to be making for capacity as your ownership within these
But this
projects.
covered these covered pieces of our capacity.
Capacity, okay, all right. No, that makes sense.
Runs way less than a Seabrook, which is a base load. So
Right.
It's kind of, it's
Yeah.
it's an apple.
But
And
these two, yeah, but we still, our capacity requirement is say 60 megawatts. These two, the replacement value of the capacity that by owning these assets, we replaced 1.3 million in capacity costs we would have had to pay out.
Correct.
Thank you.
And then this page is really more or less a summary of all the things we just went through. I did want to highlight, and I'll get it into a little more detail in just a bit. I did want to highlight outstanding positions. Outstanding positions that have been currently hedged for 2024 are that first blue arrow, which equates to about 49,000 megawatt hours at a price of $62.83. And then open positions that are yet to be hedged out or we're planning on taking to the spot interchange market are about 32,000 megawatt hours at a current price based on that forward curve we were just looking at of around $51.92. These next slide, the past slides that I was just going through are of the most importance, of the greatest importance, but I've also included some capacity information relevant to Wakefield. Here we have a 5-year cost forecast for capacity, energy, transmission, and other, and total prices for all those different categories going out to 2028. The next slide just breaks out those numbers in terms of cost of percentage of total. And this next graph represents Wakefield's resource mix, both if you were look at it at a snapshot today, which we're working more on historical data, so it's really a snapshot of 2023, and what we have as a forecast for the 5-year average going out to, what does that math work out to, 2028?
So Tom, if you want to talk a little bit about our non-carbon emitting at this point.
Yeah, do you want to, if you jump ahead to this graph, you'll see Wakefield's position from a non-carbon standpoint, and you'll find that Wakefield's in a tremendous position as it relates to the upcoming benchmarks in 2030, 2040, and 2050. As you can see, Wakefield's already approximately at 70% of carbon neutral for the 2030 benchmark. And Pete and the others at Wakefield have done a tremendous job of each year getting better than the year before, working towards that 70%. This graph is somewhat misleading in that it doesn't show expected retirements of RECs. But if it were to show expected retirements of RECs, you'd see a more gradual incline from the y-axis to that 70% to reflect each year Pete's doing a great job of doing 1% better than the year before. I don't know if you wanted to discuss that in greater detail, but in my mind, Wakefield's in a real strong position on this front.
Yeah, so this year we're forecasting at year end to be at about 50%, 54% non-carbon emitting. If you compare that to 3 or 4 years ago where we were at 48, 49, I think last year we were 52. So this year it looks like we're going to come in at about 54% non-carbon emitting. So again, the goal for 2030 is 50. So we'll be at 54% as of the end of this year. If you look at Tom, you want to talk for a sec about the big jump that we take, looks like in 28 or 29, what we signed for that?
Yeah, there's you see the big slope increase in 2029 is the Seabrook extension that we've entered into, and that's taking the numbers up considerably.
Is that, that's guaranteed?
Well,
It's in place.
Yeah.
I mean, that it will be extended?
Yeah.
Well,
Because
yeah,
wasn't it slated to
it's
close in
past,
2030?
I thought they improved beyond, no, it was 35 and I think they've extended it. Yeah. Wasn't its license till 35? And then it got extended?
Jeff, do you know the exact date? I apologize. I don't know the exact date.
This and this isn't really an extension. This is more of an additional power purchase agreement that we have with them to purchase
But I
more
think-
power.
But Sharon's question is about, all right, well, yeah, we have that for Seabrook, but what's Seabrook's useful life? If we're buying a contract on the market, this isn't our ownership share, this is additional contract we've signed, but is Seabrook still gonna be there? So that, I guess it gets back to the question of what's Seabrook's life of contract now? I want to say, I thought it was 35 and I thought they were in the process of extension.
Yeah.
I know Millstones is in 2045. I thought Seabrooks did get extended.
Yeah.
I thought it was later than 2035.
Okay,
Seabrook was initially to 2030, and it's been extended for another 20 years beyond that. So 2050 is where it's extended to.
I thought it was 2030 and then it just, was that recently that it got extended?
Oh, time flies. Maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Okay, oh, okay, all right. Okay,
And
thank you.
They have applied, I'm just reading here, applied to extend from 2030 to 2050. I'm trying to figure out when this was updated.
The light green on top of the next era Seabrook extension, is that HQ extension or rec optionality? I just can't see the color.
Yeah, I think that's the HQ extension. Is that not right, Jeff?
I think so. We should really distinguish the colors a little better in these things.
So I think you were saying that the rec optionality is not in here.
The ability to retire other recs are not in there because we have in our system transactions that are in place and executed. What we don't have in here is the fact that 3 quarters from now, we have a plan to retire certain recs similar to the way we've been retiring recs on a quarterly basis in the very near term. So,
But if for some reason those recs aren't earned, you can't count them in yet.
Right. It would be, we're jumping the gun by reporting them being retired when we know it's going to happen, but we don't have it in our system as having taken place already. That's why it's somewhat deceiving. And
Okay. And that's for like predominantly the solar stuff, right? And our rec
Solar stuff, wind,
purchases, essentially, okay.
and purchases, yeah.
Okay.
purchases.
Yeah, so we have the green program, you know, and we're also obviously generating more of our own now.
Right.
So the solar program took a big jump this year with our rooftop solar, and we're going to be adding a lot more in a couple of years with the 2 high schools.
In the middle school, yep.
But that's really all I have for you guys today. I apologize. I feel as if I came across a little frantic as I keep looking up at my gate location. I'd love to have the opportunity to come and speak with you again, and not feel as if I'm trying to rush to get through some information.
So, I have one last question, Tom. Looking at this graph, so knowing that ISO New England has forecasted a doubling of the demand, this graph doesn't show the doubling of the demand out to 2050.
Well, it has demand going up considerably from the 150 to north of the 250 for 2050.
You're saying doubling of demand by 2050?
Correct.
So
It's like 2.5 times
Yeah.
actually when you look into the ISO's
this,
forecast.
this graph only goes to 2050?
It does go to 2050, but it's 250 megawatt hours compared to 150. So it's not even close to doubling, never mind.
Okay, yeah.
But it's making the assumption of 1.9% compounded growth each year that gets us up to that number. That's, as Jeff mentioned, is in line with ISO numbers.
Maybe.
I don't know if I answered your question though.
I'll do some research on my own to take a look at those numbers and then we can bring it back to Pete next
Okay.
one.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Don't miss
All
your
right,
flight.
again, thanks so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, don't miss your flight. Go get on the plane.
Happy
Yeah.
holidays, everybody.
Yeah, you're done. Bye.
Thank you.
John, thank you both too.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay. Next, I'd like to entertain a motion that we move the new business item, gas pricing and bill format discussion up on the agenda. And then continue with the agenda as planned. So that would mean that we would speak about this new business before we have the Jeff's update on the IT. Is that okay, Jeff? Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we take the new business item out of order and address that right now.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So we do have this new business item, gas pricing and bill format discussion that was added to the agenda. We have Nathan. How do you pronounce your last name?
Yep, Nathan Schmoller, 14 Wakefield Ave.
Okay. Can we call you Nathan or would you prefer Mr.?
Nathan's fine.
Okay, okay. So Nathan had brought to the attention of our general manager, Pete, and the board, some requests to make our bills, especially around gas pricing, more transparent, and had some questions about, what is included in the gas supply and, bringing that forward to make, to increase transparency for customers. So perhaps, would you like to, open it up, Nathan, and
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. Thank you for the time. And to those who I was speaking with back in March 2023, great to see everybody again. So back in March of 2023, Pete and I had a conversation in regards to Wakefield Municipal Light and Gas Department gas rates at that time. At the time, I was looking at the supply charge, the supply charge and the delivery charge in terms of those rates, and comparing Wakefield's cost as a municipal to Eversource and National Grid as the investor-owned utilities, and basically saying, our supply charge is higher than most of these other IOUs. Pete at the time mentioned that it's not really apples to apples to compare just the supply charge from both of the bills. And the only true comparison that you could do is by looking at the combined total rate for the gas charged by either Wakefield or by the IOUs. And so I guess just for a matter of the public record, I was hoping somebody could clarify what costs that are incurred by Wakefield Municipal Light and Gas Department that are being recouped through each of those charges, those being the supply and the delivery, and maybe how that differs from the same costs that the IOUs incur and where they're included on their line items. And hopefully that made sense.
would it be helpful if we just pulled up our bill, like a sample bill, and then walk through the different gas charges?
Yeah, Joe can do that. So we'll start with our bill. So Joe, if you could blow it up just a little bit more if possible. So our bill has three components. It has a customer charge, the delivery charge, and the cost of gas.
Yeah.
And so our cost of gas, so obviously the customer charge includes metering, billing, front office, and some administrative costs. The delivery charge includes the operation, maintenance, and construction of the gas infrastructure. And all the costs are associated with that, so the crews, the trucks. And then the final part is the cost of gas itself. The cost of gas itself is comprised of a handful of components that we reviewed last month with Mark, and we review annually with Mark, which there's a cost of the gas commodity itself. There's some transportation costs associated with, and there's obviously a capacity cost as well. So much like electricity, those same values exist in the gas side. We're pretty much an all requirements customer of Sprague. So a significant portion of that is those numbers that we talked about last month that are all rolled into our budget forecast for Sprague for the year, which he talked about being, I think it was about 94 cents for this year, I think was the number he said. But then what you have to add into that is the portion of gas that we take from National Grid and the transportation costs associated with that. So our cost of gas forecast for Sprague plus the bill that we get from National Grid for transportation of gas from National Grid and the commodity that we get from National Grid. Those two combined lead to the dollar, and actually the number this month is $1.24. So, but that's actually the number that we're working with, and so what that includes for our gas supply is the gas that we take from we only have one pipeline interconnection. It's Tennessee Gas Pipeline, and so we take on the typical day we take about 85% of our supply from the Tennessee Gas Pipeline. And then we take about 15% from National Grid. So combining those two together is the combined, that's what makes up our cost of gas. So we don't have multiple supplies. In any given year, when our peak forecast exceeds what we could cover, for a few years, we did the portable LNG. Fortunately, we haven't had to do that for a few years. So right now, the capacity is being covered by Sprague. And that's been a huge benefit because that rolls into it's not an additional cost, that rolls into the Sprague cost. I don't know, does that explain, Nathan?
Yes, I guess so. To kind of reiterate what I'm hearing, and correct me if I get any of this wrong, but essentially, if we look at just the cost of gas adjustment, which let's call it the supply charge, in this case, it would be a fair comparison to compare Wakefield's cost of gas adjustment charge to National Grid and EverSource's supply charge.
No, not really. If we want to get into the other bills, not really, because there's components that are in the other bills that are included in the delivery, their version of the delivery charge that are actually supply charges. Because, for example, if you look at the EverSource bill, they call it a revenue decoupling charge and a distribution adjustment charge. Those are two charges on the EverSource bill. One of those is basically truing up for last year. And so whatever they over or under collected, so that number can be a credit or a debit. And so the revenue decoupling charge is in this year for EverSource, it's actually a charge. So, but that is a supply component also. They put it in the delivery thing because it's the true up from last year. So it is definitely, it has a significant supply component. The second piece is the distribution adjustment charge, where portions of that are energy efficiency programs and other things. But a portion of that is also the recollection of bad debt, which again is a supply related charge. And I can't look under the hood for the percentages in that revenue decoupling and in that distribution adjustment. I don't know what portion of that is attributable supply from prior years or supply costs right now. So therefore, it's not true to say it completely because there's portions of those things that are listed in the delivery charge that are actually supply related. So, and again, I'm not an expert on an EverSource bill, but in looking it up, so it's definitely not fair to say that it's strictly the supply charge because there's components of that delivery charge which pertain to supply.
Understood. So I guess a follow-up question to that. My understanding is that what charges are in the delivery and the supply charge of the IOU's bills is strictly regulated by the Department of Public Utilities, and therefore, despite as good of a, as good as an explanation that you gave as to why the revenue decoupling charge is more of a supply charge than a delivery charge, Eversource, even if they wanted to, would not be able to move that revenue decoupling charge from the delivery rate to the supply rate. And so my question is just kind of like, if the DPU is saying, hey, this is the way that we're governing IOUs and how they should charge, is there a reason that we are choosing to do it differently?
Because we don't put it, we pay for gas as we use it, and we try to, we don't have a regulated way to recollect it going forward. So our cost of gas shows up in our annual financials. It shows up in our forecast. It shows up in our reporting of usage. So we have to pay that bill as we go. And so that's why that peak year, we had to raise our gas rate so much, because we were going underwater and we couldn't do that. We couldn't necessarily defer it out 2 years like they can. They have a regulated way to move it out, and we don't. We have to pay our bill. So
And they, for the most part, lock in 6 months at a.
yeah, and they lock in 6 months at a time, so they can't. So if they missed for the winter in the spring, they have to do a filing that says we were over under. Like, and I did say that revenue decoupling charge could actually be a credit if they over collected for a winter season. It could end up being a credit in a given year, but there's definitely a significant supply component in that, even though by regulation from the DPU, it shows up in another place. It's definitely supply related.
Got it. Understood. And so essentially what we're saying is that okay. I think that makes sense as to why that's not necessarily apples to apples. I guess one final question about, kind of the Wakefield bill compared to an IOU bill. So the IOUs bill in therms, we bill in CCFs. Going through Sprague's presentation, they're talking about everything in like megatherms, if I recall correctly, in terms of units. I guess just like from a consumer perspective, if you're comparing a bill from one town to another, you have to do a complicated conversion. It's easy enough to kind of do an estimate by saying 1 to 1,000, but the rate is not exactly that. I think it's 1,038, which if you use the 1 to 1,000 assumption, you're about 3.8% off. So I guess just my question would be: is there a reason why Wakefield municipal light and gas charges in CCFs as opposed to therms, which seems to be the standard throughout most of the state?
Well, if you looked at both their bills, they measure in CCFs and then they do the conversion on the bill to therms. If you look at both their bills, just on the left-hand side, you can see that. So there's a therm factor that they put on. That is on the Eversource bill, and the same calculation exists on the gas bill. We just don't do that on the bill.
Across the board, it's metered in CC, it's metered in volume.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Therms are actually a measure of heat. They're not a measure of volume. So we're actually measuring the volume. So all of us are actually measuring it in cubic feet.
Right.
Just on their bills, they're converting it to therms based on the conversion factor.
Got it. Yeah, understood. Why they're doing it. I guess just like from a consumer standpoint, it definitely makes I guess like as a consumer who's moving to Wakefield for the first time and trying to understand my bill, if I've never heard of CCF and I've never heard of therms, it just seems like a type of thing where to just ease of doing business. I don't necessarily see the harm in showing it in therms to just make it more comparable. Would be my comment on that. And then I guess the final question that I had is, so I reviewed Sprague's presentation from the November meeting, and they were going over kind of how our energy mix comes. And Pete, you kind of alluded to it, getting 85% of our gas on a daily basis from the Tennessee gas pipeline, some of it from National Grid. And, to your point, thankfully not having to use the LNG from the District Gas facility in Everett. But I guess the other question that I have is that the Algonquin gas transmission pipeline and the Maritimes Northeast pipeline service this area as well. Is there a reason why we don't leverage those gas pipelines? I know one's an extension of the other, but is there a reason why we don't leverage that? I guess we can call it gas line singular to kind of help distribute our costs more.
You have to do a very costly tie into those lines, and they don't physically run close enough to us to make that cost effective. The one that was physically the closest to us when we did that tie-in, probably Jack was on the board probably 20 years ago.
Not that long.
19
and a half years. Last month.
But the gas, the tie-in, those tie-ins are multi-million dollars, and it's not as easy as tying into a transmission line. You have to, there's a lot more work to tie into a gas pipeline, and the physical proximity of those two lines are not very close to us. We tied into the closest one when we tied into the Tennessee.
Right. And yeah, we looked very closely at even building a connection to the LNG terminal, and that was extremely cost prohibitive. So,
yeah.
So we're.
And when we're saying like the distance, are we talking about like the distance to the like actual gates where we can get the gas out? Because like my understanding is that the actual gas pipeline itself runs straight through the town of Reading.
I'm not sure of proximity, how close it is, but I do know that the Tennessee pipeline, which we looked at and we tied into, was actually it came through portions of Wakefield, and where we tied in is right on the Linfield line. So, in terms of, you have to think about the fact that we would have to get permitting and run underground pipe and build a tie-in station. And I think it cost us, was it 7 million? If you remember, Jack, I want to say it was about 7 million to build a tie-in to a facility that was that basically passed through Wakefield versus having to go through another town. And in today's regulatory environment, I think we have a better chance of seeing crows fly. Yeah.
We did look at that when Phil and Melissa Whitten came out. When was it? 5 to 6 years ago? When they came out. So, and I think the numbers were, I forget what the numbers were, but they were very, very costly.
Yeah, they were in the 30 million, 34 million. I want to say it was excessively.
So we did actually look at that in recent history, but.
The other issue that we would face is if we could even do it from a capacity perspective, because we have a tie-in to the Tennessee gas pipeline line, but we don't have firm capacity on that line. My understanding today is that unless there was firm capacity on the Algonquin line, they wouldn't even let us tie into it. Unless we bought and owned firm capacity on that line, they probably wouldn't even let us tie in, even if we physically could.
Got it. Understood. Okay. Well, those were the questions I just had.
Just give you one more point of information. Our friends and neighbors, Middleborough, they're on the Algonquin line, and they are making a major capital investment in LNG because the Algonquin line in the peak days is even more restricted than the Tennessee line. So they're facing even greater concerns down that way on the Algonquin line. So.
Got it. Understood. Appreciate the time. Yeah, I have, obviously presented some of the thoughts on where transparency could be improved, especially just, comparison of bills. But, appreciate the consideration and the thoughtful answers to my questions.
Great. On Nate's question on the bill from, showing it in therms versus CCF, I'm assuming that's a fairly arduous task on our bill, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean,
whenever you change a bill, it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as Sharon said, at the grid level, it's 18 months and 10 million, gazillion dollars, whatever. In our case, I had Jeff do we just recently made a bill change for the community solar, and it was 5.5 months and it was 30 grand.
Okay.
So
And that's just one
That was-
line item,
that was-
one line item on the bill.
well, and yeah, I mean, and that was,
Basically.
yeah, so.
I appreciate, Nathan, you raising these issues. I was curious to know why, the comparison to the IOUs is so, important. What was driving that? I mean, aside from transparency,
Yeah,
because like, it is it's expensive to make changes to the bill and it is very timely. It takes a lot of time to do that. So I just want to understand the value of making such changes, as
Yep.
compared to the costs.
Yeah, so some of this, a lot of this conversation was, is an extension of what I had brought up in 2023, which at the time I was a new homeowner in Wakefield, having moved from Somerville, where I was being serviced by National Grid and Eversource, and my bill 4x, and obviously I'm in a single family home compared to a high rise modern apartment in Somerville, where I'm benefiting from all the other units around me. But I was kind of sticker shocked by the price, and by just trying to understand how high my consumption was, what the rates were, is this more expensive, et cetera, et cetera. The amount of like education that I had to do for myself to understand that was it felt like a large barrier to understand that, as somebody who at the time wasn't very well versed in the energy sector at all. And I think at that time it was also happened to coincide with the Ukraine-Russia war, which was also exasperating the markets. But it complicated the matters. It complicated trying to understand the bill, and kind of like, where am I really using that much gas? What can I be doing as a consumer? Et cetera, et cetera. So this is just kind of a follow-up from that. I guess I'm off work for a bit, so with the birth of my child, so I had some more time on my hands and was interested in kind of circling back to this and putting a bow on it for my own sanity.
If you ever do have other questions about this, so in any given year, we could be higher than grid or lower than grid. That year, we were definitely higher, and then the two succeeding years, we've actually been lower. And again, the one thing about grid is that they have all those pipelines and LNG resources. Our resources are limited to the two supply resources. So we have a little bit less flexibility on the supply side. But we've done a great job hedging the past 2 years, and so I think we're in good shape right now. But that doesn't mean it'll stay like that forever. So there could be a year where our supply is more expensive, but we try to do our best. In the 17 years that I've been here, I think that we've been higher than grid. Probably like we're usually close to them, like within a few cents higher or lower. We've been significantly higher than them 3 or 4 times, and those were in extreme conditions because we don't have as much flexibility of supply as National Grid or Eversource do. So the Ukraine war, in 2017, there was the polar vortex stuff. In 2014, we actually had an extremely mild winter or 13, whatever it was, and we had actually locked in gas at like 70 cents and the market was at like 45 cents. So we were selling 70-cent gas into a 45-cent market. So we were losing our shirts that year. So it's happened 3 or 4 times, but overall, we try to make sure that we minimize the risk and we make rated decisions,
Yep.
What addressing some of Nathan's
transparency and just understanding of bills, maybe,
while we necessarily can't change our bill,
without cost, but could we add something to potentially the website that explains the difference between therms
Mhm.
and CCF, and maybe even just I mean, it's a quick calculation, a calculator that someone could put in their CCF, converts it to therms, and if there was a way to feed our current rates, so that someone could get that conversion in CCF.
So if you look at their bill, for example, they do that 1.3 converting CCF to therms, but then what they don't show you is that they're charging based on therms, so that's a higher rate.
Yeah.
It's the rate's higher also, and so that, so ours is university based, but we can put an explanation on the website.
Just something,
It's probably, and I think
educational.
one of the things that Nate was concerned about last 2 years ago was that the fact that our publishing of the fuel charge lagged, and now I think there's a place on our website that you can see it, and we publish that fuel charge as soon as it's set. And one of the things that we really try to do on the gas side is we try to set it for the winter based on the Sprague forecast and what we know, and what we try to set it for the whole winter and hold it. But there are extreme years where we have to, make an adjustment, during the year for whatever reason. The other thing is if we have been over collecting a little bit throughout the winter based on that initial assumption, like last winter, we come out of the winter rate a little bit earlier. So usually we would run it through April, but last year we shut it off in March because we had, we knew we were running a little bit ahead. So, and those are some of the things we do, but like National Grid and Eversource, we try to keep it at a winter rate and a summer rate level.
And I do appreciate you guys putting that up, the historical.
Cost of gas.
Yeah, it's under rates, and then off the left, there's the sample bill comparison, and then the historical cost of electricity and gas.
We'll probably improve, we can put another tab in there around converting, explanation of conversions.
I will say, just like a comment on that, I think it's been super helpful as well. I definitely go and leverage that as I'm thinking about my spending for upcoming months. And I already took the survey on the website, but maybe some more specific and poignant feedback. If I'm a consumer who doesn't know that you publish your rates ahead of time, I wouldn't go looking for future rates under historical cost of gas, right? Historical to me as a consumer means backwards looking. And I would be looking for somewhere that would indicate, some level of forward looking language. That would be my only thought. I mean, I know where it is, which is, convenient, but that would be my one suggestion.
We do set it month to month. I mean, we really don't have a forward looking other than 1 month ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
No, totally
We're not
understood.
setting January's rate.
yeah, but I think what he's saying is the description of it on the website says historical rather than, yeah. Yeah, so we can look at that. We can try to come up with better wording or a better way to show it, yeah.
Well, thanks everyone, and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
So just to close that out. What were the suggestions I think that we could?
I think that the one thing that I think we could do without significant cost or time would be to come up with a way to, on the website, fix that concern he has about, like you said, it's true that if you use the description of historical cost of gas, then it wouldn't tell you that that's also the upcoming fuel charges. So figure out a way to present that better, and then maybe include another section in that same area that does a better job explaining the conversion of therms and CCF.
Yep.
We
And
could
then-
like come up with something like that.
And then also for that historical cost of gas, just having a description of what is included in that, because there's different components.
Yeah,
I mean, a definition of what is included in that price,
okay, yeah,
like a footnote or something.
yep.
Yeah. Okay. That would be helpful.
Yep.
All right. Next up, Jeff.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
I am going to share my screen.
Jeff feels like I keep kicking him down the road, and then we got him in the meeting and we kicked him down the road again. He was actually supposed to be on in October and November, and we just didn't have room on the agenda, so I kicked him down the road. And then tonight, first thing we did was kick him down the road.
It happens every year. I'm used to it.
I did ask.
I've adopted the nickname Tin Can Morris. Okay, so. Boom. There. Everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Great. So I'm gonna present the IT update year in review 2024. A lot has happened and I'm excited to go through it today. The first thing I want to highlight is that as you know, last year we were supposed to go live with a new portal, but that didn't end up happening. Toward the end of last year, we came to the conclusion that the customer portal we were trying to implement was just not going to work for us. It works great for the guys who created it and they use it flawlessly. They just couldn't get it working for us. So I decided to take a closer look at a product called Silver Blaze that I had seen about 8 years before. Silver Blaze was a pretty good product even back then, but when it was introduced, it was super expensive, like $90,000 or something. But now they have a subscription pricing and it's a lot more reasonable. And the product has really matured and grown since I last saw it 8 years ago. Excuse me. So with the cost being reasonable and the product having grown, we decided to partner up with them and signed a contract with them earlier this year. It has a lot of great features, account activity, statements and payments, usage history. There's a usage comparison of current to last bill and even current bill to this time last year. You can easily compare those. So it's a pretty easy to use product there. One of the really cool tools they have is something called My Events, which it allows a customer to define events that mark important dates that could impact their usage. So, such as putting in a pool, changing a refrigerator, air conditioning, things like that. And from there, the customer will be able to easily track how the usage changed from that point. So that's a really cool tool. Another function they have is personalized videos tailored to the individual customer. So say someone moves into Wakefield and they want to use the portal. There's a video specific to them to welcome them to Wakefield and talk a little bit about the light department. So there's a how to read your bill video, how to use the new portal, programs or actions relating to conservation. There's a video for that. And even beware of current scammers. There's videos for that. So it's a pretty robust portal, and I'm excited to put it in.
Jeff,
Early next year.
Are the videos created, or is that content we're creating and can create any?
Both. Some of them will dynamically get put together because the system can read. It'll dig into the database and see where things changed, and it'll explain, okay, your bill was high because this is how much usage, this is the read, things like that. So I was going to show you a video, but I decided not to because it was going to take too long, and Pete gave me a time limit.
I'm just kidding.
So on a separate but somewhat related note, I did want to mention that in November, we put a brief survey up on our site as a pop-up on our homepage. And and have gathered some valuable information at a pretty high level for that. We made some improvements based on that, and we'll be holding a focus group to get additional action plans put together for the site. So
part of the survey was if you'd be interested in participating in a focus group. So we have about, Joe, it was about 20 people signed up, or maybe even a little more?
28.
Yeah. 28. So we're trying to set it up for the second week. I forget what date it is, but there's a date that we have an independent third-party person that hosts focus groups. And so we're building the structure of that focus group right now. So we're gonna invite people to that. We may even potentially have two. If we hold signups and we get enough interest in the first one, we might even have a second one. But the goal of the focus groups is to get more actionable feedback on, so we fixed the simple stuff that we could fix based on some of the comments we got, but we'll do a more detailed to see if we need a larger action plan to build a new version of the website or whatever. So, but the hope is to kind of mine that out in a more detailed focus group than simply a survey.
Okay, great.
Seeing the customer portal made me wonder, will the focus group be focused on the customer portal part of the website? Okay, so that's not
No.
really linked.
Yeah, no, they're entirely separate packages, so to speak.
But I think we probably, within the focus group, we might ask some questions about what information is important in the customer portal, but we don't want to drive down that hole because we'll get stuck there. So we definitely want to make sure that the focus group is focused on our website.
Well, especially seeing as though the portal won't be live. No one will have seen it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I was wondering, is whether people are going through like setting up test accounts or, yeah, sounds like that's a no. Okay.
Yeah. So the key is, again, what kind of information would be important for you, but we keep it that limited to just one of the questions.
Yeah. One good thing I did forget to mention is Silverblaze actually partners with Cogsdale, our billing system. So it dovetails perfectly with Cogsdale seamlessly. And they also partner with Invoice Cloud, who is our payment processing company. And so there's really no changes on either side. It's just tying Silverblaze into what is already there. Not a lot of fresh build out, if you will. So.
Can I ask two follow-ups on the survey? Sorry to get stuck here. I know this isn't part of your presentation. Do you want us to take the survey or not?
You could take the survey, but I prefer that we be observers in the focus group.
Well, that's what I want. Is like, how do you want us to like interact with this process, if at all?
My request for the focus group is that if we end up having it here, if this is the right size, if it doesn't get too big, then I'm going to be more of a listener. We're going to have a third party person that's going to actually host it. So I'd rather, if anybody wants to come, we'll do it as observers and hear the feedback from the people that choose to participate.
Well, we should feel free to take the survey.
Survey, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I think
survey has been.
Tom already did.
Is it still up?
I don't remember.
I don't think so.
I've taken a few, but I don't know if I took this last one.
And I'm assuming you might want to limit the number of observers so that it's not more than the number of focus groups.
Yeah, I mean, we've had 28 that have signed up that expressed interest in it. So if we can fill 2 rooms, we'll do it twice, if not. But yeah, I mean, we'll only have a limited number of seats for observers.
Did you say the survey was taken down?
I took it down yesterday or the day before.
I didn't see it today.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can't take it.
It's been up for a month, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you want do you want us to take it, I guess is the
I mean, feel free.
Well, I mean, the survey basically asked, what do you use the site for? Payments, information, rebates, things like that. What devices do you use to connect to the website? Your cell phone, a tablet, a computer, and what is your experience with the site what are your comments on how to improve it, things like that. So I mean, the survey's down, but you can feel free to send.
Well, Jeff, can we just send them the link to it directly without, because it was a link off the website, right? Could you send them each the link?
It's no, no, it's gone.
Questions.
Yeah.
Or if you prefer, just the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pop-up that came up that took you to a survey that is no longer there. I would have to rebuild it.
Yeah, that's not necessary.
That's,
Maybe just
yeah.
the questions.
Could you just give us a list of the questions and we'll email you?
Yes,
Okay,
for sure.
thank you.
All right. Moving on. So in 2024, well, late in 2023, I made the theme of 2024 to be cybersecurity. I was going to pretty much focus on cybersecurity this year. Cybersecurity is obviously ever changing. We're constantly trying to improve our security through system improvement and training. Although no company can be 100% secure throughout the year, we've made many advancements and improvements that make us more secure. And I'll briefly go through some of what we've done this year. First one up here is Avanon, a product called Avanon. This is an email filter. It's a robust email filter. It catches, if someone's trying to send spam, it's going to catch that, especially from known spammers, known bad actor IPs, things like that. It'll catch most of what tries to come through. A lot of times, if something came through, it looks real, and our users might be tempted to fill in information and send it out. This catches that. For instance, a credit card number or a social security number, and a host of other PPI that shouldn't be going out. It even catches if a customer, and I don't know why they do this, but a customer emails us their credit card. All right, that's going to come in. But if a user on the inside tries to email that customer back, it flags it and says, "Hey, you're trying to send a credit card number out," and it stops it from going out. So it's a great tool. If it's a legitimate email and there's nothing in it that's wrong, the user will have a chance to review it. And if they realize, oh no, there's nothing in here that's bad, I want it to go through, they mash a button, it comes to me, I push it through, and that's that. So it's a very helpful tool. It's caught a lot of bad emails from coming in. Next up, one of my favorites, symbol security. This is part of our improved personnel awareness training program, policy. As always, keeping the user sharp and aware of potential cyber pitfalls is one of our strongest lines of defense for any company, not just us, to keep the bad actors from accomplishing their goals. As you all already know, some of what this includes is quarterly videos, sometimes monthly videos that you need to go through. Please go through them. I do get graded on how many people take these training videos, so I like my numbers to look good. And then there's quizzes at the end.
Do we really have to pass those quizzes, or like?
What's that?
I've heard complaints from some people that they're not passing the quizzes. Do we really have to pass them?
No.
Mark's asking for a friend.
There's no pass or fail. It just kind of lets you know how you did. And
But doesn't it give you the right answer right away? It's not like you.
No, it doesn't.
yes.
Oh, I thought you gave you the right answer.
No, it doesn't. Which ones are you giving him?
The easy ones.
But no, if you answered it incorrectly, I thought it.
Oh, okay. It doesn't give you a chance to take the test again.
No, it gives you the right answer.
You fail it. It gives you the right answer, but you still fail it.
that affects his performance.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. He just gets credit if you take it.
Not if you pass it?
It should let you retake it if you want. Who's tried to retake it that couldn't?
I won't name it. I haven't failed it that badly, but I haven't gotten 100 on all of them.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. We want you to go through it. Okay. And obviously, if you get an answer wrong, it should show you what the right answer was. So
That's what it does, I thought.
Yeah, it does that, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
It does let you take the test over again if you want.
Well, why would you want to at that point? It told you the right answer.
yeah, you're going to get 100% after that.
Yeah, then I could get 100.
You're fudging the numbers.
You still claim to have a CPA, and you haven't proven that yet either. So
Now I'm starting to doubt it.
So that's one of the things. Another one is it sends out fake emails to try to catch the user into doing something that they shouldn't. And if they do, they get a slap on the wrist for clicking something or trying to plug in a username and password that they are being asked to plug in and send out. So those are always helpful. And then we'll do an annual company-wide class time for review of pitfalls and new methods of attacks, things like that. And so that one's to me, that's a fun product. I really like that one.
So wait, you are trying to trick us and then you're trying to blow us up? What's happening here?
Maybe. What I'm trying to do is train the user to be sharp. Keep those, because the user is my first line of defense to keep the bad guys out. That's always going to be the case. Most hacks happen because a user clicked something they shouldn't have or entered information they shouldn't have, and now it happened.
So, just a point of clarification, if this happens to us, will we know immediately that it's you?
Yeah.
Like that it's, okay,
You gotta know, it'll bring you a page that says.
you're in trouble, you've been.
Kind of, it was like.
WMGLD, something obvious.
I'm not going to get you in trouble, but it will let you know. Oh, you
Shouldn't have
fell
clicked
for that
that
one.
I'll tell you, like, this
Say,
is a fish attempt, or this was,
This was a simulated phishing attempt and
It'll be clear about the fact that it's coming from
You've been-
you. Okay,
Yes.
got it.
My employers do that as well. I will say, Jeff, some of them that yours have sent out are craftier than some other ones that I've.
You create things?
Oh, yeah.
Well, one of the things that I was in a security briefing earlier today, and it was just as boring as this one, Jeff. And
Wow.
but one of the things that he talked about is the sophistication of the bad actors, which is not just simple.
Agreed.
They can go 3 levels deep
Yeah.
now. I was in DC last week for the ESCC meeting. And one of the things that they talked about was the fact that the bad actors are actually building user profiles before they try to attack you based on what's publicly available to you so that they can try to hit on something like, oh, Jen's going to answer this because now it refers to a kid, a parent, a job. It refers to something that she knows. So therefore she's more likely to hit on it, you know?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So moving on, another tool that we implemented this year is called a DNS filter. This one's good. It blocks categories of websites that should not be accessed from WMGLD owned IT assets.
All the good stuff.
Come on, Mark.
All the good
Did you fail this one too?
There's no test on this one. It just stops you from going places.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it catches known type squatters, and a type squatter, basically if you typo a URL, the example I give here is goggle instead of google.com, and someone owns goggle.com, well, that may be a compromised site that redirects you to a hacker. And this will catch those known URLs. And they're updating it every day with known compromised URLs.
Jeff, is this also the type spotting? Does it also catch the Cyrillic alphabet as well, where the A is slightly different. And so is it, so using a different keyboard, so it might look like an A, but it's acrylic A or Cyrillic A, I should say.
That's a great question. I will look into that.
Trying
Yeah,
to-
I don't know. I'll test it. Yep. But I don't
It's
know.
another vector that they use.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know anyone who's using a Cyrillic keyboard.
Well, it's not even, it's in the, so essentially it kind of ties back to the phishing. Phishing might, for example, have, look like an official, I'll pick on Bank of America, and the URL in there looks like bankofamerica.com, but they've just swapped out the A, in there, and then it goes to a spoofed B of A page that
Yeah.
looks like B of A, and then you put your credentials in, and then you're done.
Okay. Good question. I'll find the answer. I'm not sure. My guess is yes, it's going to catch it.
Okay.
But I think I want to test it before I give you 100% on that. Okay. All right, moving on. Kaseya 365 endpoint. This tool gives me more control over what updates get pushed out to the users' computers and when they get pushed out. Let's say there's a critical operating system or software application patch that's got to go out immediately. I can push it out immediately using this tool. And I admit that's not as exciting as some of the other tools I've talked about, but it makes my job a whole lot easier. And I can be a lot more efficient. So good tool to have. Another big one this year was updating our IT policies specific to cyber asset protection and cybersecurity. We worked with Utility Services of Vermont to get these done throughout the year. The policies that we worked on include physical security controls, personnel and training awareness policy, electronic access controls, cybersecurity master policy, cybersecurity incident response plan, and acceptable use policy. So all of those got rewritten this year. And okay, so that was the cybersecurity stuff we focused on, some of what we focused on this year. Another project we're in the middle of right now is the outage management system. The OMS server needed to be upgraded. It's a critical server, obviously, but it needs a boost in horsepower. So many of the more critical tools we use every day have hooks into this server, so we can't just rush this one. It's not just OMS, it's our call center that sends information to our OMS. The GIS mapping is all handled there. Our outage map is handled on this server, and many other functionality, many other parts of our functionality is tied into this server. So we need to upgrade it and give it a good boost. So upgrading to the latest version of OMS gives us some more features in the back end. However, those aren't seen by the general public. However, the new version does give us one great feature in that is customer facing. Our customers will be able to report an outage online, and that outage will get dynamically imported into the OMS. So that's going to relieve calls to our call center because they charge us, for every call. It's going to save time, money, and give the customer a little more, control over their over what they're trying to let us know.
Well, that, when a customer reports an outage, tying back to the OMS, if we have a time to resolution or ETA, will that flow back to the customer, or is there a potential for that?
No, this is just input, not output. It's just sending data in. It's as if you're calling our call center and saying, hey, I've got an outage at this address, da, 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 da. And that information that you've given to the call center gets pushed into the OMS. It's the same thing, except you're just putting it into a form and sending it into the OMS. So no data is
So-
going out. We tend to update the outage information like that through social media, things like that.
And the messaging. So I was just gonna say so most of the utilities, the IOUs will use an algorithm. And since we have so few outages, we usually handle, if it's smaller individual outages, it's usually one or two people that we're talking, and our substation people will talk to them directly. Or as Jeff said, we'll handle it through social media or through the upfront messaging. So for example, if it's a busy night and we have an outage on Chestnut Street, we'll report, we'll say, we're aware of an outage on Chestnut Street. We're working on the job. We expect it to be back by 9 o'clock. If you're calling for any other reason, stay on the line. So we try to force abandoned calls by providing that upfront information. So that's how we handle that type of information.
And when do we trigger, say like the reverse 911?
If it's a large,
thresholds.
if it's a large scale event, a lot of the times with the reverse 911, we'll do it if we have an incident where we have to take a planned outage. So there's a tree across the wire, we have to take the circuit out. So usually we have time to do that notification. If we can, we'll use we'll highlight the area quickly and do a reverse 911 for that. If we have the time to schedule that plane, we're gonna do that outage. We were aware of it. We know we're gonna do it, and then we try to broadcast it.
Okay, thank you. And then Jeff, I didn't get a chance, sorry, to ask a question on the previous where you push out the patches and stuff. Is that help you with things to avoid like the CrowdStrike incident? Do we have anything where, CrowdStrike pushed that out and everyone automated that and, brought down half the world?
Yeah. The tool will allow me to test to put it in a test environment first.
Okay.
Before I decide, yes, it's safe to push out to the user.
And do we have any kind of vulnerability to a CrowdStrike type incident where vendors are pushing updates without our knowledge? They're just rolling them out, or does everything come into a testing bed for you to test first?
It comes to me first. Not the vendors or no one can push anything out to my users. I'm the only one who can do that. So and I'm going to test, I'll be testing the patches before I send them out. So I'm hesitant to say there's never a chance something could go through, because I'm not naive to the fact that there's smart people out there, but I would say to the best of my ability, I'll test everything before it goes out to make sure that it's not compromised.
Okay, thank you. I know not everything's an absolution.
What's that?
I know that everything's not absolute.
Yeah, especially in IT.
Jeff, just a question about this outage management system reporting feature that customers can report these things online. Is it mobile friendly? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Because most people, if they're losing power, may not be in front of their computer. They might be on their phone.
Yep, very true. Yes, it'll be mobile friendly.
Okay.
Yep. All right, moving on. One of the projects that we're in process of right now, I don't know if you're aware, the Kimball Lane gas take station, we don't have fiber going to there, so we're relying on an aerial connection to go from the take station to the Salem Street lot, just two antennas. And sometimes with the trees growing and leaves going on, the leaves growing on them, it can get interrupted. So we needed a more stable mechanism to get there. So Vinny McMahon, one of our engineers, worked with Peabody Light to get permission to put fiber on their poles, which does go down Hidden Valley, which is on their service territory, but does backtrack. There are poles that backtrack to the Kimball Lane station. So we're going to be able to run fiber along the route that I highlighted in blue here to get fiber to Kimball, and finally be able to get our gas SCADA system connected to fiber rather than aerial.
And the fiber's been installed and they're working on the tie-ins now.
Will we leave the radio as a backup redundancy?
Hey, okay. Sorry, I got the fiber is going. Anyway, okay. So the answer is we can leave it up. It does no harm to leave it up. It'll just be disconnected, and if we need to, put the swap the switch, the ports on the switch to the aerials again, that's baby food. We can do that. Yep. The other two benefits are we're going to be able to get cameras out there, because right now I don't have cameras at that site. So I want to get cameras out there and electronic door access so we know who's going in and who's going out. So good project going on right now.
Right now, all we get is a door alarm that the door is open. We don't have card access to who goes in and out.
Right. And this one got pushed out to 2025 and we just couldn't squeeze it in this year. But getting electronic door access to all buildings and rooms where IT assets exist. This was part of the cybersecurity focus for this year. So we'll know who's going in and when to these areas. Also putting more lenses up on all of our properties that don't have sufficient cameras. One part of this we were able to finish this year was getting the cameras out at the energy park. So now we're recording 24/7 the goings on out there, so we can save that video to put together a promo video when it's completed. So that'll be really good. And that's all I've got except for that. He was
But Jeff didn't want to be beat by Sarah, who put Stanley on last month. So
absolutely not. I was like, I can pop that.
You can put Stanley on. I can put my
Gecko.
Whatever that is.
But he has been in the office. He's been there. Huh?
Is it a he?
Yep, that's Snickers. Yep, the boy.
What kind of gecko is he?
He's a crested gecko, otherwise known as an eyelash gecko for obvious reasons.
Wow.
And I was going to put a Christmas hat on him, but we couldn't find one small enough for him. So.
He's smiling very nicely for that photo.
He is. He's a happy guy.
There is an app for that. You can put,
I know. I wanted a real shot. Everyone's like, "Oh, you know how to Photoshop?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know
Photoshop a Christmas hat."
It's not IT approved.
Anyway, that's all I've got. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question? Do
Sure.
you want us to reach out to you if we are the subject of heightened attacks for any reason online? Is there any information you want? Like, is there a flow from us to you?
If something comes through a WMGLD email, and you spot it, by all means, let me know. Obviously, if it comes through your private accounts, I can't really do much about that. But certainly anything that comes through your corporate email, let me know.
Okay. And if people call WMGLD looking for information about us, I'm assuming people will not release that information, any personal information.
The only thing that's on the website about you is the WMGLD email address. Yeah.
Correct. We don't have any of your.
You don't have any of our information otherwise.
Yeah.
No.
So everybody has a MLD issued email.
Yep.
So that's the only, and that's published on our website, so they can email you via that.
Okay.
All right.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a
Jeff.
great night.
You too.
Thanks, Jeff.
Too.
Okay. Bye-bye now.
Good job, Jeff.
Hey.
Hey.
Moving on to, the agenda, old business. Do we have any project updates?
Just the construction's underway, the site work is underway at the Energy Park. If you ever drive by there, there's a lot of, they have two big machines clearing the ledge. They have, the retaining wall has been put in. So there's been a lot of work in the past few weeks, and you'll see a lot more over the next month or so, weather, cooperating, but we've been moving right along. So right now, the site work hopefully will be done the preliminary site work will mostly be done within the next couple of months. The goal is to have work on the battery foundation starting next month, hopefully.
Oh, okay.
So we're putting in the retaining walls and the drainage right now, and then the next phase will be to start working on the battery. So that's moving along.
Somebody asked me if the battery's working prior to the buildings being up and functioning, will we use it for peak?
Yes.
Over the summer?
That's the whole goal.
answer is
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
right?
that's the goal.
I think we said June.
Well, the goal is to have it up by the summer,
But the building will not be
connected to it.
at that time.
No.
Okay.
No. We still have to wait for the switchgear. We're actually putting up a temporary piece of switchgear to be able to tie the battery into our system for next summer. The switchgear for the building won't be here till the end of next year.
Okay.
With, kind of sort of.
Have you been up? I don't know if anybody's been up there, but it is a crazy place.
Yes.
Like, it is insane. The amount of work that's going on up there right now. You have two massive construction projects going on in addition to our energy park.
I try to avoid the area.
It's a good idea to avoid it. It's insane. I didn't know that one of the days of the week, the tech actually starts late. They have like a 10 a.m. start. And I went up there for a meeting at like 9:50, and I thought I was gonna get killed. It was crazy. Because all these kids are coming in as the construction's really going. So it was insane.
I was gonna ask about the middle school with that passing at town meeting. What does that time frame look like?
I don't know, Dave, have they given you a time frame on that?
They're still going through, I think they plan on starting in January, but they're still filling out some paperwork and going through all the approvals, but they're close, but their plan is to start in January weather permitting, obviously.
Yeah.
Did that go out to bid? That's already.
Yeah, they had
Yeah,
already.
they did. Yep, they went out to bid, and before town meeting, it went out to bid. The DPW put that bid package together. We were involved with the evaluation of the bids that they received, and they did an award, and they wanted to make it contingent on town meeting approval. So the procurement side of it has been completed, so that's good.
But they wanted to have an exact number, so they didn't go to the town meeting until they had
That makes sense.
an awarded number.
Yep, that's right.
I love that background you got there, Dave.
Well, thank you. I figured it's appropriate, Jack, for the meeting, for the call.
It's a very small flagpole, though. Well, I've noticed. Said that many times before. It's the smallest flagpole in the world.
Well, if it was any taller, it wouldn't be in my picture.
That's true.
Thinking ahead.
Silver line.
I try to think glass is half full.
All right, so that's all I have for that. Unless there's any other questions on the ongoing work. One interesting note, and it's gonna tie to the next item too. If you look at the new customer work, there's actually 640 units of housing under construction in Wakefield right now.
That wasn't enough.
All 640 are gonna be electric heat. So as we go forward to talk about this clean heat standard, it ties into that.
Yeah.
Portion wasn't in the book.
Huh? Yeah, well,
I don't think we got the project update.
Yeah, project update, or at least my book wasn't.
no, it didn't.
Yeah, I don't think it's on the online one either.
You know, I'm very disappointed, Pete, it's not in there.
Oh, all right.
So I wasn't.
That's because Adobe didn't work and so the general manager's report was not.
Yeah.
Oh, was it in the additional section? No.
No.
I didn't see.
We had technical issues. Sorry about that. I'll send out the general manager's report. But right now, like I said, there's 640 units under construction, not just in planning or development phases. And so, and they're, like I said, they're all gonna be electric heat. So that's a significant benefit of the decision we made in 2018. We have almost, when these projects are done, we'll have over 1,300 units of housing with electric heat.
And we kind of dovetailing with that, and Dave and I had a discussion about this with the new specialized energy code going into effect on July 1 of this year. Have we, I know it's still fairly new, stuff permitted under that new construction that is falling under that code?
So I can comment on that. So everything's in like slightly different phase, right? So I went over and I met with the building department. So on any new construction projects, we check with them to ask them when it was approved falls under. So we had some projects that have been new, what we consider new, but the problem was that they were approved, before the new code was adopted. So they weren't covered. I mean, it could be a multifamily, single family. I mean, we try to look at everything, and we ask the building department which projects are fall in the category. So it's right now, it's constant. I don't know of one right now that's under construction that is currently under the new code. I know that they're like
Dave,
the one that has
Dave, you keep freezing up, but I think, the point is that, but on that issue, it's more, we're consulting with them, but it's definitely a town enforcement issue, not like, unlike the gas moratorium where you had to be, like, we were more policing that. On this issue, the town is the one that's policing that. We're just trying to correspond with them.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I just didn't know if we had seen any permits come through, that did it have to be permitted after July 1st, that it would fall under a new construction, not any sort of renovation.
I think it might be approved as well, comes into play. Permitted, but approved by the ZBA. So there's other approvals that really apply to that as well, Tom, I believe.
So we're still in that transition period, whereas it took a couple of years to get through when we went to the gas moratorium, there were projects that were approved back then that we had to go through and still have to give gas. So that actually took, and we had one that actually only got finished like a year and a half ago because it was approved. Then it stopped because of COVID, and then it finally got finished. So there was actually one project, I think maybe a year and a half ago, that still had gas. So, but for the most part, all the Harvard Mills, all the big stuff is all 400 units up here are all on the electric side, which is huge.
The good thing is we're in conversation with them, the building department. So any new development, any new project, we're in conversation to find out what phase or what portion of the code they're falling under.
Great. Yeah, I was a little worried when that got passed. How the building department was gonna handle, that was one of the concerns, that there was gonna be a massive influx of applications, but doesn't seem to be happening yet. Any other updates, Dave?
The Maple Way is complete. The reforestation of Maple Way Park, that's done. Burns Park is under construction. Weather's hampered a little bit, but we've been working over there. So those two projects are moving along. One is complete, one is moving.
Yeah, the final plantings probably won't be done until the spring for the Burns Park now.
Correct.
But the two neighbors had a lot of questions, so Dave's met with them individually, the two big condo complexes on either side. So we've been working with them. They've had their hand out for I'm like, you don't understand, we took away a substation and replaced it with a park. You're not gonna get any more than that. It is what it is.
No tomato plants?
Doesn't stop them from trying though. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so then we'll move on to the next item, clean heat standard and decarbonization clearinghouse. So we got a lot of materials last time and this time, which how should we approach this? This is meant to be a substantive discussion on the clean heat standard, and how we think the regulations will impact and be enforced. So there was some analysis, I think,
Yeah.
that Joe
was that
had worked
spreadsheet in
on
there? I think it was in there, wasn't it?
about the potential impact
Yeah.
if for noncompliance.
Is it in the, I don't know if it's in the board book. Let me,
Thought I included. Can we call it up? Do you have the ability to call it up?
yeah, it might take me a minute or two, but
Yeah. So the point of the analysis was to understand the financial impact on us if we were forced to enter the clearinghouse or pay the alternative compliant payment. And so we've been adamantly opposed to both because it becomes regulation on, it infringes on local control in significant ways. And those ways are continuing to grow now. So our opposition as MEME and as individual utilities is continuing to grow. So I've shared some information with you. I shared the feedback and the letters and things. We are, and actually our lobbyist, Bob Rodefeld, met with Jeff Roy, the House side chair, on the issue of the large building reporting. We stressed how opposed we were to it, but what we've told him and what I shared last month on that issue was that we're more than happy to work with the building owners. So if our building owners ask us to provide them the information, we'll provide them the information. But we shouldn't be making that should come through them. And so that's one of the things we've stressed. And the proposed regulation wording is being reworded to that effect, so that the municipal utilities work directly with the large building owners. But there's a lot of issues with that reporting that haven't even been mined yet, because one of the issues I learned last week with my visit to the ESCC at the Department of Energy is that FERC has been heavily involved with states that have been trying to do just this because there's data security issues. And one of the issues that Jeff kind of touched on, but the bad actors want usage patterns and usage data for nefarious purposes. And the more public we make that information, the easier it is for bad actors. So FERC has actually met with the 2 or 3 states that are ahead of us that have tried to do this and shared their concerns about cybersecurity in this regard. So we feel fine about sharing that information with our building owners. It's up to them what they do with it from there, and we will work with our building owners. But that's an issue that I think is going to be raised on a higher level around security. And so we've tried to come to a compromise way to handle it, that the building owners and the state are going to have to be responsible for the security of that data. So that's on that other issue. On the clean building standard, the clean heat standard, again, they're trying to impose a regulation that shouldn't apply to us. By way of background, and I'm not sure if I shared this last month or not, but they're trying to make us like the IOUs and use Mass Save. However, what I've shared with every audience that will listen is that to date, even though Mass Save has much higher rebates, we're kicking their butt. Because if you look statewide, they have 1.1% of the houses in the state have heat pumps. In Wakefield, we have 2.3%. So we've more than doubled them in half the time. They've had these rebates for many years. We've only had them for 4 years, and we've already more than doubled them. So the point becomes, why do we need to make this a financial burden on municipal utilities, or actually anybody? But why are we doing it this way? If you want to fix the idea that you need to go to clean heat, then you should be requiring the same things that we're requiring, which are moratoriums on multifamilies for gas and the extended building code. And the next step would actually be to require at the point of sale a modification to some standard. The state sets the standard, and when you sell your house, you have to be at that standard. What they're doing right now is they're creating a financial penalty for the electric utility, who has nothing to do with that, in the ratepayers of electric utilities. And at the end of the day, if you read through this guarantees that it doesn't guarantee that a single house will convert, because there's no mandatory language in here that's, all it does is apply incentive costs and non-compliance penalties. It doesn't actually guarantee that a single house will convert. So if Mrs. Smith down the street doesn't want to convert, she's not going to convert. Whereas if you say at the point of sale, she has to address these issues, you guarantee that it'll get done. So all we're doing is adding cost without adding a requirement to do anything.
Right, so where do we stand? This is on tonight's agenda for what? Just
Well, I think Sharon had asked for a follow-up discussion on this topic.
Just to have a more substantive discussion around the topic and inform ourselves. And also last time, Elton wasn't in the meeting, and I thought we could review the analysis that Joe has done around,
to see what the numbers are.
around what the,
So Joe can blow that up a little bit more if you can.
So have any of the commissioners heard back from the legislator who reached out to you guys?
No.
Do we have any sense of where this legislate, like how likely this is even to go forward, or, because it sounds to me like it's just going to fizzle out. Sounds like there's enough legislators who don't like this idea at all.
I hope so. I hope it does. I think it's the wrong approach. And I think that there's many better approaches to get to the goal without adding cost to consumers.
What are other commissioners' feelings on this? Is this something that, we as a board want to have a letter drafted and sent off to our legislators?
Did I share an example letter? I thought
There was one,
there was a meme letter. There was another one. Yeah, the MWIC letter.
Oh, yeah, the MWIC letter.
And just, kind of gauging what others.
There's actually 2 or 3 other letters out there from individual light boards in the same vein as the MWIC letter and the Mass Caucus letter.
Yeah, well, my feeling is the same as those positions, and the same that Pete is espousing. So I would love this thing to go away. For exactly the reason Pete's saying, it's just going to impose costs without necessarily achieving anything.
But do we submit a letter or not? I think it's sort of like the question, right?
I mean, I think it would be helpful if we did, especially to our legislators, because then they'd be clear on the position
of us. Yeah. I agree with the letter, like the intent is all things that we've been working for, but the mechanisms are incorrect, especially with the taking away our local control. Like we as a board and as a utility, I think know better about what our residents and businesses need and want, and we can respond to those things as they come up. What might work for Reading might not work for Wakefield. What works for Wakefield might not work for Rowley. And I think that's why we're here and have been elected to do those things.
And we're probably in a unique situation where we have both electric and gas compared to some of the other munis. So my recommendation is, Pete, if you and the staff could draft a letter explaining all the different points and counterpoints, I guess, from Wakefield's perspective, I think that would be a good thing.
Yeah, then you guys can review it. And I think it would be valuable coming from the board to our legislators and even to the chair of the Department of Energy, the DOER. I think that would be valuable to share our concerns, And so there, I shared the MWIC one, but I know West Boylston has done one. I forget, there's two or three other sample letters that have already been composed from individual light departments. So I'll draft the letter and you guys can have time to review it. Maybe by next meeting, we can, if there's tweaks or whatever, we can try to put it to bed and get it
If
sent
you
out.
could include those other ones that have already been submitted. All right.
The other letters that have.
The other letter, like from West Boylston or other boards, letters that have been submitted, just that are, I'm assuming they're for public consumption.
So if you look at those numbers, Joe, it's
still a little bit small.
yeah, I don't know if there's a way to make it any bigger. But so in the first year, the impact of, so Joe did analysis of what's being called the clearinghouse, or basically what they want us to do is match the Mass Save rebates. So he's covered the cost of that there's a cutover when it's actually cheaper to pay the penalty than continue to increase the rebates. So.
Yeah, so I mean, I can speak to it a little bit here. I think at first, the increasing to the Mass Save rebates would actually be more than the penalty, but the penalty increases year over year. So I mean, this assumes the Mass Save rebates would stay the same. So the penalties keep going up, but the Mass Saves kind of stays consistent. So that's kind of the break even point is 2030. I mean, you're looking at still at this point and in some of these years, this shows the actual per kilowatt hour price increase that would have to cover those amounts. So we'd have to basically increase the rates by 2 cents at this point per kilowatt.
2.5, yeah, almost 2.5 cents.
Yeah, getting closer to 3. And then I think so this is over a period of what's that, 10 years or so. So over 10 years that accounts for 18.7 18.7 million on the penalty side. And even if we just went with the Mass Save rebates, it would, that's where the number would be pretty close to that. A little bit less because it tapers in comparison a little bit with the penalty. But so definitely big dollar amounts. And then because the requirements go up each year as well. Sorry for jumping around a little bit because it's so close on my screen. But yes, because the requirements go up as well as the penalty amounts go up as well. It quickly goes from 0.4 of a cent, in year one, to after 5 years, it's already at 2.5, trending towards 3. So.
And is this electric and gas?
Yeah, so it's electric and gas. I mean, from reading the Clean Heat Standard, I believe we would be on the hook for both, so to speak. So it would additionally create, I think, some additional complexity in how are we gonna try to say, because we're gas and electric, if there's a gas customer and they want to put something in, we would try to count that towards the gas side, and then if it's just electric, or if it's an oil customer, then we get to count that on the electric side, I guess. So, and that's data that's difficult to know unless you're in everybody's house.
And not only that, but the way that they've structured this is supposedly the installer actually gets the credits, and then you somehow have to get the credits from the installer, which makes no sense, because if you are paying all this money to incent them, then why are they getting the credit that you have to now buy from them? It makes no sense.
Well, yeah, because then what's the market price of this pseudo rec? I think they're like CHS or CHCs, or there's a specific 3-letter phrase for these types of recs. Because it's the market price. If you do it that way, wouldn't it just be what the penalty is? I mean, or it'd be close. It'd trend towards the penalty, and that's kind of where it might be a little bit under. But why would it be anything less than that, or significantly less than that? I don't think it would be.
And why would it be more? Because you'll just pay the penalty rather than buy the thing.
Exactly. So it seems like the market price to me, I mean, I don't know the complexity of it, but it seems like it'd just be set right where the penalty's at, or I don't know how much cheaper, but not, it can't be much cheaper because everyone would want to do it at that point. I mean, so then it's kind of weird in that way.
But at the end of the day, so he did a analysis of it. So it starts out at about 0.5% and it rises quickly to about 2.5 cents and the total aggregated cost over the first 10 years would be about 18 million.
So I'm confused about our oil heating customers, because doesn't compliance lie with oil dealers? In which case we are not implicated in that at all? Did you account for that, or how does that work?
No, well, because there's oil customers and gas customers in Wakefield, so it's not really clear. But because you've made this a burden of electric utilities, we're gonna have to buy from the installer those credits. That's why it's all confusing, because whether they get with gas, at least we're a 1-to-1 ratio and we can touch them. On the oil side, we only touch them on the electric side. Now we need to still, there's goals identified for the electric utility. So of those 41 in the first year, a portion of them are attributed to gas and a portion are attributed to electric based on but again, you've made the electric utility responsible for something that's not their responsibility. And it just gets confusing as to how do you manage all that, other than now you're gonna have to go out to this marketplace and buy the credits from the installer. And yet I'm giving rebates to help the installer, so I'm not sure how that all comes together.
Do you have the inputs where you show the actual numbers of customers? It would just be helpful to see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And is this the worst case scenario or the likely scenario based on?
This is the likely scenario.
This is based on, so the calculations are based off of how much electricity or gas that you use, and there's a calculation that this is based off of. And so these are this is pretty much, unless the usage is a lot different from what's projected. I mean, that's kind of what it's based off of, is our usage as well as projected growth of usage in certain cases. Or it might be a flat, but I'd have to double check on how I put it out there. But regardless, it's based on a percentage calculation, which there's actually a compliance calculator that it's linked to. There's a spreadsheet that you can go in and you can put your current usage both on the gas and electric side, and then it projects you out 10 years. So I think that's what's actually linked. So all these numbers are linked to the compliance calculator, which you can find on the website. And then it's one of those sheets where the only thing that you can edit is just the input. You put the input in, and then it can put it out a certain amount of years.
And the input is your gas for electric sales, basically,
Yep.
right?
So there's one tab for gas, and it knows, you can say it by what volume. You have decatherms here, and then you have MWH here. So, and that's, you put that number in, and I think that it calculates based on that. So I think that's the way that it kind of goes through. So it's a good tool to use as far as taking that and then kind of comparing it to what the calculation's going to be each year as far as the penalty increases.
And then full electrification is whole home, correct? Like these are all full, right? They're not.
Yeah, I think that I'm actually not sure of if it probably is taking the gas completely out. I guess I'd have to go back and
No, I think in reading
some partial,
there's like
not a
partial
lot.
credit.
Yeah, the CHC, which is
okay, yeah.
credit. Reading this through, like full electrification gets, I think, what did I read in here? Was it 5.5?
Yeah.
And then a partial was 2.5.
Yeah.
And then there is record keeping and administrative overhead on the hybrid systems, the partials, where emission reduction credits were based on evidence of the utilization of heating, tracking, electricity billing. If it's a fuel-based or delivery, they have to account for what the liquid fuel that they've delivered and the historicals of that to show that the hybrid home has really had a reduction.
So if
There
I,
seems to be a fair amount of,
so if I'm the electric
Overhead.
utility and an oil customer converts, who owns that reporting responsibility if they didn't fully take out their oil burn?
but by this, both.
Yeah,
Like we would have to report on the electrical demand, because they're gonna look at the peak winter demand and show that that peak went up, right? And then the fuel would also have to report that their liquid fuel usage went down.
that's crazy.
So at least that's the way that I'm reading this
I
document.
give the people that thought of all this a lot of credit, but there's absolutely positively no way this ever works. And without costing people millions and millions.
Colorado has three, some states do have a clean heat standard. Colorado has one in place. I know it's passed there and I know that there are other states looking at it. So I'm curious.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's been in place for, whether it looks like this.
Does it tie in the electric utilities?
I'd have to compare it to this.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same or different in what ways, but I do know that they adopted a clean heat standard.
So are we being doubly penalized because we have gas?
Uh-huh. We would have to account for more conversions.
More conversions as a
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's based on
Yeah.
usage, so it's
Yeah.
like it takes those two things separately, and that's where it's kind of funny though, is if somebody, because we're gas and electric, if it's a gas customer, we would we'd take credit on the gas side, I think, and then we'd have to kind of manage it that way, which would be a little bit funny too. And with the hybrids on top of that, sounds like not very much fun is all.
Well, we wouldn't be double counted, I don't think, because it
Well,
would
it's not
either be
double
electric
counted.
heat and
Goal
electric.
would be, the goal is based on both systems.
We'd have to
We would have
convert.
to comply for our natural gas heat. Yes,
And for both.
correct.
Yes.
So we'd have a number that's allocated to us based on the number of our electric load and an additional number based on our gas load.
Correct.
So instead of, if we just had an electric system, it wouldn't be 43, whatever that, 47 was the number, Joe?
Yep.
It would probably be like 30.
Yeah, so where is the gas? Sorry, I didn't see the gas piece of this. Where are the gas numbers? Oh, that's the total. There's the electric. There's the gas. Okay.
So it starts small and then it jumps up pretty quick.
Wow.
And do we know if we're doing any full electric, like, do we track that at all?
We only have like 3 or 4,
But we do track it.
We do track
Okay.
to the extent that we can.
And just to confirm, our incentives are not structured today to prioritize or to
They are.
offer more for full?
Mhm.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's actually the highest
Yeah, that's
rebate we
That's
offer.
I
To get off
Oh,
completely
replacing
fuels.
fossil fuel. I
Yes.
see.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. And I'm not opposed to like a clean heat standard and trying to convert over, but like the way that this is structured for us does not seem to be correct.
I think if the goal is to move them over to electric, why are you penalizing electric? Like we should be focused on investing in the infrastructure to handle the load and keeping our rates as low as possible for the people that are forced to come over to us, not the other way around. So by the way, you gotta fix your infrastructure to make sure you can handle the new load. And we're gonna jack up your rates so that when they do come over, it costs more money.
Okay, so you'll send us a draft letter.
I mean, I'm just gonna Just have one more question. So, I mean, the fact that we've adopted the specialized energy code and we have a moratorium on, you know, multifamily, residential, gas hookups. I mean, I'm wondering, are we in a better situation than other towns to comply with this?
No, because we don't get any credit for any of that. And what makes it worse is the way the calculation goes right now. Like, so.
What do you mean we don't get any credit?
Because we don't get any credit.
600 units, you're telling me, Pete, that are all heat?
Don't matter in this calculation. This calculation is based on KWH or
Okay.
CCF sales. I guess the only thing I could qualify that by saying our CCFs, if we hadn't done the moratorium, our CCF sales would have been much higher. So we would have had even more to do. So that, to some extent, that's true because, but by the same token, we are getting penalized more on the electric side based on this model because our load is higher on the electric side. So, and now that's going to continue to promulgate because all the beneficial electrification things we do makes our goal higher.
Okay, true. Okay. Does anyone know where we are in the process? Like they've accepted comments on the draft regs.
Right,
And it's been out there for
the draft
year
is,
now.
supposedly in January, there's another iteration of the regs that are supposed to come down. But Pete Dine isn't the only one mad about this. There's a lot of people that are pushing back, and I think the stampede is growing. And I think it's gonna get really loud, really fast. And as people start to realize what this is doing to their National Grid electric bill, to their Eversource electric bill, and to all the Muni electric bills, the footsteps are getting louder. And I'll be honest that we're trying to make it as loud as possible from the municipal utility side. So, and I think we're going to continue to ratchet up. We're meeting with, next week I have a meeting with a representative from the governor's office and with the attorney general's office. And we're, as a group with MEME, to talk about, we've met with the AG's office once already, to complain about this from a cost to the ratepayer perspective. And so the DEP and the DOER are not charged with ratepayer protection.
No, it's DPU.
It's the DPU to some extent, but they're under the DOER. The real person that's charged with the cost is the attorney general.
Yeah.
The DPU doesn't really care about costs. They approve rates, but they don't really care about the cost. Because they keep adding to it. They don't care about if it, so.
Okay, so you're saying the consumer advocate is the attorney general?
Is the
Yes,
attorney
yes,
general,
yes.
yeah.
But the DPU holds the purse strings.
Yeah.
They do. I mean, to a degree, they do have some consumer protection because
Yeah.
they were the ones that issued like the portability docket and
Right, and
whatnot,
then
but
also equity is part of their,
it is, but at the end of the day, as long as you prove prudency of your investments, what is the DPU going to say no to it?
Right, and then on the other side of that, if wherever they set the low income targets, that cost true up allows the investor and utilities to just collect it in another bucket in another framework. So they're, at the end of the day, all they've done, they haven't said you have to forego that cost. You have to give this class of people the discount, but you can still recollect it over here. And so wherever they draw that line, the rest of the money is not lost by the IOU, it just gets put in the other bucket in that true up.
Just taking a step back, how are, like, I know meme and that and MWAC talking about this, but the reconciliation of if something like this passes, it removes our ability as a board to set a rate, because it's kind of forced, if there's that 18 million has to be accounted for.
Right. That is the first point and the bullet points of the argument. which is that they're actually rate setting. And so that's the key first point of the argument for municipal utilities, which is you've taken away local control.
And then I would say the next point is which I was referring to earlier is our ability to craft the programs and policies that impact our ratepayers, that our ratepayers have put us here to make those policy decisions for them. And if that's again removed from our ability, I think that's I see that as a big problem.
I'm wondering where the letter would go. I noticed that the letter from the legislators went to the DEP, and the DEP is accepting comments until December 21st. But the letter from MWIC went to the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, and the meme letter looks like that may have gone to EEA as well. So would our letter be going to the DEP by the December 21st deadline?
If we want to review and approve it, I can get something in the beginning of next week and we still have time.
But I'm just curious why the other letters went to EEA and didn't go.
Because it's one step up. So DEP is under.
I know, that's why it should have gone to DEP. Because they're the ones who were proposing.
You know, what the people that sent those letters are saying is they're not listening, so we're going over your head.
But but it still seems to me that.
I think it was probably was it copied to the DEP?
Doesn't say. But I mean, it just seems to me that it should, I would think that it would go to the DEP because they're the ones who were doing this rulemaking process and they've asked for the comments.
Let's say all of the above.
But yeah, so if we wanted to, we could CC it, but that means if we wanted to go to DEP, it has to go by December 21st, which means we probably have to have another meeting in like 2 weeks and sign the letter.
Less than that. 21st is 10 days.
Oh, yeah. geez,
9 days.
As well. Yeah. I mean, I guess we just hold it.
We can also address it to the EEA and I mean, they're hearing the comments that we make to the DEP on the regs itself are being, I think the point is that we're in a political argument now because the DEP is not listening. I was on a conference call with the DEP in March and nothing's changed. They're not listening. That's why all these policymakers are moving around them and going to the higher level because they need to argue the case at a higher level. The DEP is laser focused, you know.
So is it going to Secretary Tepper?
That's who, I'm not sure who
He didn't say, just says EEA. I think, well, it maybe had somebody's name on it. I don't.
Going to the top.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Catherine Antos. I don't know who she is. Under Secretary of Decarbonization and Resilience. So we're just gonna send it to EEA. We don't have to do it by the 21st. We can do it at the next meeting. Just seems funny that we want to comment, but we're not going to comment to DEP.
We can try to do it faster if you want.
Because it just means, I mean, if you're saying, well, people aren't talking to DEP anymore because they're not listening, well, then they're not getting any additional comments. So then there's nothing for them to listen to. You know, because they're the ones, it's their project.
Send it the same letter to both?
Yeah.
Send it to all agencies, yeah.
Yeah. I like I said, I think we should also send it to our legislators because they need to hear the opinion also.
And aging.
Yeah.
Who we are. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all
Yeah, so
all have a hand.
at the higher level, at the MWIC and E&E level, we're like John Zimmerangis in E&E and Ron DiCurzio are trying to meet with the governor, Rebecca Tepper. They're like attacking it at that level now because it's that big a deal. And so, like I said, Ron had a meeting with Governor Healy and voicing our concerns, and the groundswell is good. And what's happening in the meme level now is that they're going to start getting ready to publish to the townspeople in some towns to say, hey, by the way, let legislators and let the governor's office know how you feel about this. And so there's some of the towns are already at that groundswell support level that they're they're talking about, how do I make 17,000 residents in Wakefield start to call the governor's office and let her know how we, so that's where it's getting to in some places.
Okay. I mean, I think we should set it to multiple
Yeah.
offices, not, but I do get your point that, I mean, if it shouldn't just be EEA, it should be the agency that has the responsibility to.
So our
Draft,
comments
finalize
are already
the
on
regs.
record through the D,
Right.
through
Those have already
the,
been submitted.
so through the MWEC response directly, because the MWEC represents all. So from the DEP's perspective, we've signed on to MWEC's response to them. We sent comments back in March to them. And
Okay.
and then this letter is, I think, saying, in addition, we're going here, and like I said, in addition, we're meeting with the Attorney General's office. We're meeting with the governors, you know, so there's a lot of avenues that are being pursued, so.
So are you saying that we should not submit this letter?
I think we should send it, even if it's late, I think we could still send it to them.
Okay.
They can choose to. They've already heard from us.
Okay, all right.
From different avenues. It's just they're probably just gonna throw it in the folder with everything else. And so, you know, but we'll be on record as saying, you know.
Yeah, I think I would like to look at Colorado and I'd like to see the differences. And that's gonna take me more than a week. So I would like more time. I want to look at the January 2024 update. If it's coming out in January, that's like another month from now. And then I prefer to comment on the more recent version that's coming out 1 month from now. That's I don't know that I see the benefit of throwing something in a week from now. But that's just me.
I think it's at a principal level, it's not at and again, the issue is at a local control level first. And so I think that regardless of what Colorado's doing, we're you know, again, we're defending it at the local control level for Massachusetts. And so.
I just, whatever comments we put out there, I want them to be constructive too. So, we can pick apart all the things that we, you know, don't like about this or don't work for us. But we also should provide some feedback on what, like you had an idea about point of sale.
I've shared it in every forum that I've been in.
I'm just saying, like,
I still can't understand, and nobody has replied to my comment in any form, and I've been with the DEP, with the Attorney General, I've been in every forum that I've been in, they don't want to answer the question. And so they just nod their head and take the comment.
or if there's other.
Yeah, I mean, that's my idea, but.
Or
other
things
ideas.
that might, you know.
Again, I think one of the issues is that they don't want to make the hard choice to make it a requirement. So they're doing all these other things to try to get to the same places. They're costing people millions and millions of dollars, rather than just say, if you sell your house, you got to bring it up to this standard. And that's when all the money's on the table anyway, and it's going to hurt and nobody's going to be happy about it, but they're going to be less happy about every single person's electric bill going up. You know,
The title, right, it's Title V
yeah,
that's kind of the model.
the septic systems, yeah.
No.
I have to have.
It makes way more sense because you were talking about a structure that needs infrastructure based on whatever the standard in code is at the time of sale. So versus and then we're responsible for meeting the load demand that's generated from that building converting over to whatever technology that may be at the time. You know, today it's, you know, either air source or ground heat pump type of tech, and that may change tomorrow.
Do you think, I mean, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Looking to Colorado and digging in and seeing what they did, there'll be any lessons learned or insights to share in our letter? Because
I mean, if we want to make the letter substantive, we
Yeah.
need to spend more than 7 days, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So I think that's the.
And also show
That's the
why,
question.
uh,
But I also do wonder, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't, without having looked at this model is out there across the country.
mhm.
I don't know as much about it as I should. And that's why I want to learn, like, it's been adopted. This isn't brand new for Massachusetts. This is out there.
So why don't we not try to get a letter into DEP by the 21st and just do a higher level letter that we can discuss in more detail in January after we've looked more into Colorado and other examples?
And honestly, I think that if we do our research and look at other states that have adopted something similar, and we say, this isn't gonna work for us for XYZ reason, even though it worked in Colorado, I think they'll listen to us.
Well, and I think as a gas utility, it would be interesting for us to offer an opinion of
Yes.
the electric and gas utility,
Yes,
which would be unique from some of the other opinions that have
Yes.
been offered yet.
yes.
And maybe we have questions too. I mean, I haven't really looked at what Joe did, but I just don't know if there's big questions that we don't have
Right.
answers to.
And we also might have different arguments to make.
Yes, we would.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, other than what's already been said
Correct.
by Meme and
right.
the Mass Caucus and whoever else.
But I mean, yeah, that's like a different level of work and effort. obviously.
Yes.
I'll dig deeper, but I'm just looking up the Colorado one and it applies to the gas utilities.
Correct. I don't think it applies to electricity.
Right, so that's a huge,
Huge difference.
yeah. So that's
Big
massive,
difference. Yeah.
Substantially.
yeah. So I mean,
I mean,
That-
that's a major comment right there.
the one comment I keep making is, so we provide electricity, we don't provide heat. We provide the commodity, so what's to stop somebody from saying that we don't think you should cook red meat on your electric stove? Like, we're gonna penalize that because there's too many cows and the methane gas, like, that's my point, is that you're now you're making the utility responsible for an end use. And like, where does the control and the responsibility of the utility for the end use end? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a state law, state regulation thing. That's not a utility thing. We provide the electricity. We need to do everything possible to provide electricity. If you don't want people to cook red meat on their electric stoves, deal with it over there. It's not our problem. You know, we have enough to worry about.
Well, but also we're already decarbonizing the electricity.
Right,
And now we're doing it again.
right. We're
So-
double, we're
That's-
double,
that is
triple.
Actually, I do believe a double counting.
Right.
Yes. So I think there's a fundamental point to be made.
And by adding this financial burden, you're inhibiting our ability to do that cost effectively.
Well, you're inhibiting our ability to want to solve the problem by moving people to electricity, because the more we do that, the more we
Right,
increase those compliance numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there are actually valid points to be made here
Yeah.
about the construct.
so yeah, we'll dig more into the Colorado thing too, but it looks to me like, just on first
I
glance,
think it's
it's,
just the heating.
Yeah,
fuels,
yeah.
yes. And not electricity as heating fuel.
It would be great if we could make other substantive, points that haven't already been raised. That would be very valuable to them, I think. And they might actually listen.
I think the concern that I have is that the electric utilities are the easiest ones to regulate. And they're the biggest players, so it's a lot easier to just slap them, because we have to take it, I guess. But I think they're gonna feel the pushback. So.
Okay. So, timeline.
We'll try to get a draft out next week, but we'll target the January meeting to have iterations. So if I can get a draft out next week, then I can get comments and feedback and stuff, and then we can hopefully try to put it to bed by the January meeting.
So just reading some quick bullet points from the energy office from Colorado.gov. It almost sounds like their clean heat standard is our net zero 2050 goals. So they are just looking to do the reduction of the greenhouse gases and not necessarily the conversions, which are a byproduct of that, but their goal setting looks very similar to what our 2050 goals are. And they're only going to 90% by 2050.
Well, so I think it would be good if we could all look at that.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at.
So that we can all come with.
Yeah, but
some
it does.
Background, but yes. I mean, it'd be good to look at Massachusetts and Colorado. I mean, I don't know that Colorado is the best example to look at, but I think it's the one that's furthest along in its development and adoption, as far as I'm aware.
So one of the people on the ESCC with me is the public power representative from Colorado Springs. So I'll reach out to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, how's it going, right? Like, is
Well, or is this even, your Colorado Springs electors, is this have any effect on you at all?
what's going
What's been
on?
the impact?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, are you involved at all?
right.
And if he says, no, that's the gas company, then we know that it's not, it has an impact in either from a local control
Right.
level or a electric utility level. Yeah, his name's Travis Steele. He's the general manager of the Colorado Springs utility.
Are there gas only munis? I'm just curious.
Not in Massachusetts.
Okay.
I don't know if there are in other places.
There are only 4. There were one of 4, right?
Right,
There's
yeah.
4 other munis.
So us, Middleborough, Holyoke, and Westfield.
4 total.
Yeah, 4 total. Yeah.
Would you mind sending out a link to, I don't know, this, the Colorado, and if there's another one, another state
Yep.
that we could look at?
Yep.
Okay. I'm too lazy to look it up.
No, that's fine. I mean, I obviously have resources, like there are folks at my company that do
Yeah.
work all the time.
Yeah, and I want to make sure
Very
that
involved
everybody's
looking
looking
at
at the
those.
same
So I can even ask, what are the most, what do you
relevant.
consider to be the most relevant?
Yeah,
comparisons?
okay, that would,
Yeah,
you
so-
would curate that for us, and then
Yes.
we'd all look at the same material. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Yes, thank you for putting this can you share that spreadsheet with us?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you for putting that together. I
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
That's be a very helpful tool.
Okay,
And then you had asked about the energy efficiency. So the budget we approved was basically the same programs we have now, except for the modifications on the commercial side.
mhm,
So,
okay,
so we just gave you the updated spreadsheet for this coming year. We hadn't really changed much of anything based on the budget that we approved. We didn't add anything. And as we did make that major change last year, which
yeah,
was the
we
whole
made a lot of changes last year.
the tiered level for, if you leave the fossil fuel entirely, it's 10 grand. If you, but then we also moved the cap up from, I think it was only 2,500 or 3 grand up to 5
I saw
grand.
that.
Yep.
So is that new for 2020?
That was for last year, yeah.
Oh, that was for last year, right?
Yeah, that was new for last year.
Mhm.
And so we're tracking these 4 different tiers, basically,
Yeah.
like in our system. Okay,
Yeah.
Mhm.
great.
And so will we have for the commercial and customers, will we have
It's probably not gonna get,
nothing like this?
no, because
Because it's only,
there's only a couple hundred grand there
Yeah.
and for a
it's more of a pilot.
well, it's a
Stage right
prescriptive,
now.
it's more of a prescriptive program.
Yeah.
So we're gonna, so there's some prescriptive lighting that we can do through the GO program simply, but we're also we'll do like project-based stuff.
Right.
Try to come up with customized incentives
Right.
based on the work that we're gonna have Olivia start to do, reaching out to the industry. Start with our largest gas customers.
Okay, so we're not gonna be advertising this on
Not-
our
not like
website,
that.
No,
No.
because it's gonna be a custom.
Yeah.
Targeted,
Project based even for.
Yeah.
us for commercial.
Yeah.
Industrial.
yeah.
Yeah, and the larger ones, like years ago, I was in that,
We,
when Kraft General Foods in Framingham was.
Yeah.
Considering moving out,
yeah,
we did, Boston Edison spent millions of dollars on an energy efficiency
I
conversion.
know, and, at National Grid, we have, almost like MOUs with the actual, business, you know, and then we also, I think, have some financing mechanisms that are
Yes.
particular.
So that's kind of the thing that I
Help,
want.
because a lot of times these are huge
Right, there.
investments.
Buildings, yeah.
And if we, but if.
And I think we even have like a rep, similar to like Olivia,
Yeah, so.
that's dedicated to those.
So if we can
customers.
start to target our top, say, 25 or top 50 gas customers, again, if we make it as part of the goal is to reduce our gas peak. So if we focus it in that direction, and then we start to meet with these larger customers, understand their business a little bit, but also maybe come up with project plans that help reduce the gas over the next 5 years, you know.
With that, and well, hold on, I'll wait till the end of the commercial discussion.
The home battery storage incentive, is that really $100 per kilowatt hour of capacity, or is that supposed to be kilowatts of capacity?
Is it,
Kilowatt hour.
it's based on the size of the battery, right, Joe? So it's supposed to be.
Yes, I think that is I think it should be kilowatt, not kilowatt hour. So we can make that adjustment.
Yeah, make sure that it's correct, that it's supposed to be kilowatts for you.
Could we look at an analysis, and hopefully it's really quick, for the clothes dryer and doing a tier for a heat pump dryer and also a conversion from a gas dryer to electric, and I would say even making that tier go to a heat pump dryer versus just a regular Energy Star dryer. So, a larger incentive for a heat pump dryer, and then potentially a slightly larger incentive from going from gas to a heat pump dryer, because someone that would be converting from gas to a heat pump dryer,
Put an electric outlet.
put a circuit in.
Yeah.
And some of the heat pump dryers actually don't need 220. They're only running off of a 110.
Is there a way to police that though? Like,
I think it's simple, the same way we do the stoves.
stoves, yeah. Okay.
A picture of.
Yeah, they had a picture and a receipt of what they
Yeah.
bought. Yeah.
But I just wonder, if that makes sense for us to potentially, whether it's beginning of, I know it's 2025 is right around the corner, so whether or not we can do that for January 1 or maybe July 1 if we need a little bit of headroom.
Is that the only appliance that's gas?
To my knowledge, well, outside of a stove and hot water.
Oh, water heaters, I see.
Or water heaters, not hot. They make the water hot. But just kind of moving that needle a little bit on the gas side.
Where's the water heater?
On top of the first one.
Water heater.
Oh,
The
heat
very
pump,
first
water heater.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only one.
Okay.
That could be a barrier for.
That could be a tiered one too, where
I
if it's
see.
electric to heat pump,
They've moved it for cooking
could be
and heating.
gas to,
And might have it.
could be water.
Okay. Okay, all right. 'Cause the next page, I had a question about the home energy audit fact sheet. In the bottom, in the blue box, it says, for a gas heating system rebate, you are required to contact Net Zero to schedule a free energy audit. I didn't realize we had gas.
No, we don't, we
system.
eliminated that. That's probably old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We don't
We don't
incentivize.
incentivize gas.
No.
Yeah, okay, that's it's like, why is that? Why do
And
we
even
say
on
that?
the heat pump, the code is strongly recommended, but not required.
Second sentence.
That's blue box.
Gas heating.
Oh, looks like we lost you guys.
I think you had to hit the video on the bottom left there.
Yeah, so, down. There you go.
No, just hit the video record where the red line is. And it probably resets the.
Yeah, it does. So then we just gotta adjust the camera this way. Can you hear us now, Joe?
Yep, yep.
All right, so we're back. This happens once every meeting.
Did you hear what I said, Joe, about the?
No, I didn't catch that. I think that was
Mark took a note of
Okay.
it. We'll get it.
All right.
okay.
Okay. So any other discussion on the energy efficiency rebates? So we don't need to we're not gonna are we making any changes?
Other than that edit, no, I don't think so. Oh, I mean, we'll evaluate the dryer thing and come back if we can do that.
Okay. And we've already voted on the budget, so. Any other? Okay. So then, I think we've completed our agenda. And it's 9:30.
Can I bring one thing quick up? Looking at the 2025 meeting schedule.
Yeah.
I already have two conflicts,
Okay, which day?
January and May.
You're
So-
going vacation.
No, January is my daughter's birthday. If I miss it, she'll kill me.
Oh.
And then May, it's already,
Told you to run.
I know, right? I know.
That's-
And then May 7th, it's the other one that,
You want to do the following Wednesday?
we could, yeah, if everybody can.
The following Wednesday for May 7th will work. I have to check my January one.
Be the 15th of January.
The May 4th.
January 8th to the.
No, we're definitely moving May, but I'm not positive about January yet.
Well, I also have a conflict on January 8th.
Okay, so we're definitely not doing
Well-
January 8th, but we,
Yeah, I mean, maybe can we actually take a look and get back to you on some of these other dates? But I feel like January is really important to deal with now because that is our next
I
meeting.
just realized that conflict came up today.
So can we deal with January now? But yes, I want to double check my schedule against these dates. If I get a chance to do that. The 15th is good for me in January.
Me too.
I can do it.
You can do it too.
That would be good, actually. It would give me a little more time to look at some of
I
these
can't
materials.
do the 15th.
Oh, you cannot? Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear you say that.
I had to check it.
Yeah.
I could do the 16th, the Thursday.
Okay. Does that work for? Everyone else?
Works for me.
Probably won't be able to do the 16th or the 15th.
What about the 9th? Just move it up by a day.
Works for me.
I won't be here. I'm,
On the 9th.
I have to be in Virginia that week for work.
So,
But if,
so you wouldn't be able to do either week then? Doesn't work.
yeah, I mean,
16th?
yeah, I mean, I could do the 14th if we pulled it forward on the 14th.
Tuesday?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think you can do that.
or Friday, the 17th.
Oh, Friday's too rough.
Yeah,
I can't do
that-
Friday night.
I'm
Nope.
Yeah.
Come on, Tom.
Monday the 13th also work.
Tuesday the 7th, maybe, I don't know. I'm just throwing out some dates.
You're not.
I'm not available.
Not that week.
And if I'm not here, do we know what the agenda looks like? Like, is there any votes or anything?
Well, there's the clean heats,
Yeah.
which is.
We would
Pretty-
want you to be at
I
that.
want you to be at that discussion. So let's take it one day at a time. Which date do we want to
Let's
offer?
take it one person at a time. When
Oh.
can you go? When can you do
I
it?
mean, I could do the 13th or the 14th or the 17th. The following week, fully open on that, but
I can do
Like the
13th
20th?
or 14th.
That works for me.
I can do the 14th.
Although I think he said, I think.
Oh, you cannot.
13th is Monday.
Can't do.
You can't do that either.
Okay.
You guys feel like the most limiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just trying to start with the.
Give us our,
Yeah,
give us our
let's try any day of the week of the 20th. Or if we want to do Friday, I know Friday's terrible.
I could do Wednesday, the 22nd.
That works.
I've never seen this happen before, where we can't pick a date.
Oh, do you remember the old days? We barely met in the old days because we had so many conflicts.
Yeah.
Is that 20 years ago?
No, but we would have like 6 meetings a year because we could never get everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
I could do the 22nd, Wednesday, the 22nd.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, we found a day.
Then the only other question is, are we going to meet 2 weeks later?
We can discuss
That's
that.
aggressive.
Yeah,
22nd.
we can discuss that
But
after.
yeah, just to flag it.
But at least we'll get one in January and then we could decide what we do after that. But in the meantime, if you want to look at the rest of those dates and see if there's, I know I can move Wednesday, the May 7th to the 14th. So
Okay.
Check the 4th. Maybe we handle that one now, can we?
So which one?
May
14th,
14th.
is everyone able to do the 14th? The following Wednesday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now, I can.
Well. Yeah, conflicts can always come up later, but
Mhm.
at the moment, yes.
Yes.
May 14th is open.
And while we're at it, do we want to meet on February 5th? If we're meeting on the 22nd?
I would say no. Because that's
We're not gonna have a lot of new material.
not gonna have new material by then.
We could meet on the 12th.
It would have to be the next week because the week after that is February break.
Week after what?
The week of the 17th, it's the school vacation.
School vacation. Do you want to do the 12th?
I won't be here. Traveling for work.
Little sucker for the whole week?
I'm available, yeah, the 10th through the 13th. I have Friday available.
Brutal.
They're
Schedule.
putting me on a plane a lot more. My new job.
Maybe you should take the old job again.
I think it's.
Sake of our
Yeah.
schedule.
So maybe we can back the February meeting because I think
Or can you call in?
I could be remote on the.
Yeah, can you be remote?
12th, yeah. I could be remote on the 12th.
It
right.
could be fine.
I can do the 12th.
All right, is everyone else okay with the 12th?
Yep.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, shall we adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Yes, someone like to
Uh,
make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to adjourn the December 12th meeting.
All in favor?
Well,
Oh, somebody
second.
second. Jump the gun. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
We
you.
really.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night. Thank you.
Happy holidays.